All right, and we're back. Episode 2 of the podcast, and we got some friends here. It's time to zero out once again, just once a month. Back the machine, back to zero, clear off the slate, and start again new. This week, we've got Jacob and Kiona with us, and of course, Mike as usual. It's going to be weird if I ever do a video by myself. Someday I'm going to try a video again by myself on this channel. Don't know when, don't want to be about, but we'll see. Anyways, so, yeah, we got some different topics we're going to get into this time. Some good, some mild, some just kind of random because I had to come up with a topic. But we are going to start out with what we all did throughout the month. So I'll start with Mike. How was your month, buddy? What'd you all do?
Well, a big life update. I was let go from my day job that I had pretty much for over like 4.5 years. At first, it did kind of sting a little, just because nobody likes to hear that they're being let go. Mm-hmm. But as the month continued, I actually found it more of a positive than a negative, because over the past year, I just really didn't like what I was doing there. Like I like the people just fine. It's just, because of the corporate restructuring of a lot of things, the work environment wasn't exactly the same. Mm-hmm. So yeah, now I feel a weight has been lifted and I'm ready for something new.
That sounds like my job that I had at Pepsi. I never realized how much I hated that freaking job until it didn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
All right, Jacob, what's going on with you, buddy?
Well, I've been recently employed, actually, at Central Michigan University. I am going to be working as a part-time community research assistant.
Awesome.
Where the study that I'm currently being a part of is how autistic and non-autistic people navigate the workplace, and how I'm just questioning, what's it like, for autistic people to work in environments that may not necessarily understand their struggles, or, like what accommodations are made for them. And yeah, it's a job. Like recently I mentioned this in the mental health podcast, but I have I've learned to finally fully embrace my autism, and that it's, for a long time I thought it was something I had to suppress, that I had to overcome in a way, just because of of certain struggles that accompany me. Like, I'm tired of treating it as a weakness of mine, as something that I've always thought I had to do. And now that I'm honing in on it, I feel like that this is really the best possible job I can. Like, it's just trying to make things easier for other autistic people, and it's fantastic. I'm glad. Yesterday was my last day at TJ Maxx and retail, which it can be pretty intense for an autistic person. Like, it's even intense for typical people to work. Like, and I'm glad I'm not gonna be working there during the holidays, for instance.
Lord, I can imagine.
Black Friday. Don't even get me freaking started.
Nope.
Okay, but yeah, I've never really, looking back, I don't know how I could have survived 4 years after getting my degree that survived working in retail.
No, I don't blame you whatsoever.
Retail is brutal, man. It's just, yeah, it's ridiculous. Having worked at one of the busiest Walmarts in the country, I think they said, it's just insane. Yeah.
I had to work at a Walmart for when I worked for Pepsi. And trying to stock Pepsi shelves while a Black Friday was happening.
It doesn't work.
I wanted to bash my head up against the wall because I had to navigate the workers plus the I don't blame anyone in any state of mind for having to work retail. Now, ever since I got out of it, I can never see myself going back to it.
Same here, man. Same here.
No, congratulations on your job, dude. That sounds freaking amazing.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
That's going to be so much more just fundamentally, it's going to be much more satisfying for you, I think.
Yeah.
Rewarding for you.
It's a higher purpose. It's a higher. I honestly can't think of a higher job for that. Like I used to like just spend a lot of times looking for marketing jobs without that had nothing to do with my autism, and I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm fully embracing it this time, and that's my identity is like being
Good for you, man.
an activist for autism rights because
That's awesome.
I became ever since I became a member of ASAN, the Autistic Self Advocacy Network, easily the best autism organization in the country. It's everything autism speaks isn't essentially. It's and also being more supportive of even donating to charities for autistic women and non-binary groups and racial groups and helping them out as well. It's just I just have this fire recently, this enthusiasm that I haven't had in a while.
Good, man. I can tell you're passionate about it. The way you speak
Yeah,
about
that's
it
really
seems
great.
on the podcast. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome, dude. Well, good. I'm glad to hear. All right, Kiona?
Well, I think for me personally, it's just been keeping up with like video game news and that sort of thing, and just making sure my laptop can still run because it's 4 years old. Um, yeah, it's just, oh, well, I think one of the things that I really enjoyed was I finally got to see Doctor Strange 2. I don't know if I talked about that with you guys. I
What'd you
got
think?
to see it off Disney Plus. I loved it. I thought it was a really good movie.
Awesome.
Yeah, so
You're one of the
I
people that would appreciate the Sam Raimi weirdness more than most people.
I kind of figured that it was kind of in my wheelhouse, for
Yeah.
sure. So yeah, that one sequence where he shows Wanda just kind of doing her like the what do they call that, Mike?
Oh,
the movie,
the dreamwalking.
Dreamwalking, yeah. So that sequence there, just the editing and everything was so awesome in that, and the music, of course, Danny Elfman, man, just killed it.
Dude, they'll never have a better use of music in a fight ever. They literally can't outdo fighting music notes.
Literal music fights. That was
one of my
and like it suddenly becomes Fantasia all of a sudden.
That was so weird and so off the wall, but it worked.
Yes.
Another thing was I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but like for the fighting game community, they had Evo 2022, which was pretty awesome. There was a lot of news that dropped actually. Like there's a new Tekken coming out, which is awesome, man. I don't know if it's gonna be like a remaster of the first one or something, because it's just like just Kazuya and he's
upgrade of 3 so bad.
Yeah, seriously, they need to do it.
Speaking of Tekken, has anyone here watched the anime on Netflix?
Starting it on Monday.
I saw the first episode, and was more impressed than I thought it would be. To be honest, yeah. The art style actually impressed me. At first, when I saw the trailer, I was like, I don't know if I like this, but in motion and in context, it's actually pretty good.
Fighting games are the perfect source for an anime, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. I used to love those like really cheese 90s fighting game animes like Battle Arena Toshinden and all that stuff.
Like Fighter 90s cartoon.
Oh God.
Or the one in the 90s with Tekken where Hayachi like ate an axe. They throw an axe at him, he puts it in his mouth and bites it.
It just bites it, and yes. Hayachi, man. What a boss. So Evo was really cool this year. They had a lot of announcements. There's like a new Garo Mark of the Wolves, like a new Fatal Fury game.
Holy crap.
Hell is that? Like, what is going on here? Japanese game development, man. It's a renaissance. We're in the renaissance finally.
Nice.
And then, of course, what we were talking about earlier, Brock, off the air, we were talking about like Radiant Silvergun. Apparently, there's a leak that it's coming back, or somehow they're gonna either remake it or like a sequel. Like Treasure doesn't do sequels. I don't know about that.
No,
usually they don't.
But they make good games no matter what.
So maybe they'll do a sequel here. I don't know. Radiant Silvergun 2. I'll play it. Dude, we're getting a remake of Lollipop Chainsaw. Yes.
I still can't believe that.
That's the game done by a Grasshopper manufacturer, which is
that James Gunn helped with.
To 51 and James Gunn, yeah. So like,
that's
strong with the boys.
Started Jessica Negri's entire career.
It launched her career. Yes, I love it. then what else is coming up? We might get a Capcom versus SNK game out of this, because at Evo they were doing like posters and stuff, and everybody was commenting, and it was all positive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is nuts, man. I don't even know what's going on. So it's a good time.
It is.
And also, I want to just mention really briefly She-Hulk.
Yeah.
A lot of haters out there. For me, it's my favorite. I think it's my favorite Disney Plus MCU show. I really do.
I'm not ready to say that yet, but I think
close.
right now it's hovering in the top 5. I'm not putting a number on it until the series concludes.
Okay, yeah, I'll join you in that. I think for me it's maybe top 3. Let's put it that way.
My top 3. My top 3 are actually it's a toss up between Miss Marvel, What If, and WandaVision.
Yeah, What If was really good.
Yeah, What If was fantastic.
Fucking loved What If.
Yes. Yeah, She-Hulk is getting up there. We were reviewing
so
it.
Good.
Every time I'm just like, dude, they're total losers. I love it.
Such losers. I love it so much, though.
Mike didn't know about the costumes until I brought it up on the screen. He's like, what? And he didn't. The best part about it, I got to see his actual reaction to finding out who Hammerhead was. He had no idea. I'm like, if I get to see Hammerhead live on screen,
now I just need it. I need to see Hammerhead.
Yes, and it's just those episodes fly by so fast.
They do.
And they're so well written, and like they fake you out so much. I seriously thought when he's talking about the pen pals that he was talking about the Thunderbolts. No, it's just random hippies.
There's like, yeah, I know, that was amazing. And you know what's so hilarious too is like there's that scene where they're making fun of all the internet outrage.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was on Emergency Awesome's video. I think it was on Charlie's video where he had a particular freeze frame, and it was one of the guys talking, and it in the back freeze frame was the Team He-Hulk. I was like, good lord, that is freaking hilarious. That is so like that's exactly what you would see on the internet today.
I think there's a thread somewhere on Twitter that compared a screenshot of all of those like fake tweets with with actual tweets from 3 years ago.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Everybody's like, Stan Lee would be turning over in his grave if he saw this. Stan Lee co-created She-Hulk, dudes. Like,
yeah.
There was a great thing where it's like, do you have any idea how disrespectful it is to have a character like She-Hulk twerking, and then right next to it on Twitter was a panel of them having She-Hulk jump rope naked in Marvel Comics. I'm like, so what? Excuse me? They're the ones disrespecting her? She's a woman having fun. Calm down.
Yeah.
She's stripping in the show.
Yeah, I remember when
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's like how everyone all of a sudden loves Bully Maguire all of a sudden, but when She-Hulk happens, it's like, what the fuck is this?
Oh yeah, give it a moment. It's always the worst thing possible. Absolutely. Yeah. Like one of my favorite parts is the best part where like Jen totally does not like the She-Hulk persona, but all of a sudden she's getting robbed. She's like, why do we? Oh wait,
Genius. That was ingenious.
What you guys just do? A Robin Asgardian construction worker? Yes. Get it? Because of the wrecking crew. Yeah,
exactly.
Really me, I've just been piss pounding through anime again. I finished part 4 and part 5 of JoJo's. I'm waiting until the 3rd batch of episodes for part 6 comes out until we do it. Part 4 is by far my favorite. Billy Kametz, shine on you, Crazy Diamond. Rest in peace, dude. You did so freaking great as Josuke. You'll be sorely missed. His career started in 2016. That's basically one of the first animes he ever did, and the dude knocked it out of the freaking park. The visual representation and everything is just nuts. I know I liked JoJo, like just from the memes and stuff, but now actually getting to watch it, it's fantastic. Part 5 is a letdown, I will say, because it had the coolest setup, and then it's just one of those things where it felt like the creator Araki didn't know what he wanted to do with it, so it kind of just went. But it does bring up things where it's like I talked with Mike the last time because I was just starting my run through of JoJo's before. in Japanese, like when he's writing the manga, he didn't have to worry about copyright, and he's a big Western music nut, so he was making all the characters and stands based off of music. Like his helper's name is Robert E.O. Speedwagon. and like these three ancient pillar men that they fight in part 2 are cars, so like fast car, Essie Desi, so ACDC, and then Wamu instead of Wham.
Oh my god.
But like my by far favorite one, and I told Mike this, like there is the in part 7 there is a character named Funny Valentine who is the president of the United States, and his stand's name is Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap, or D4C. But in American, it translates to Filthy Acts Done at a Reasonable Price. And they're
Filthy Acts done at a reasonable price.
It's the best shit ever. Listening to some of this stuff, and it's like in part 3, there's a character named Vanilla Ice, so he just needs to be called Cool Ice, and there's just dumb shit like that. It's fantastic. And like, there's one where it's Notorious B.I.G., but the stand doesn't activate while the person's dead. It waits till they're killed and then activates, and then it's just like dumb jokes like that. But another one, and it'll lead into my topic later. The first one I watched after I finished JoJo was Asterisk War. And it's one of those ones where I realize it's almost a serotonin hit when you have those few voice actors that aren't in every single thing, but they always have certain roles in like animes or video games. And when they pop up, you just know they're going to steal the show, and you're so happy whenever they do. And it'll be a part of my topic when we get to it at the end, but it was very good. Now I know you guys outside of Mike, Keona, and Jacob, you guys watch a ton of anime?
Not a ton.
No, not a ton, I'm afraid.
Okay. Anyone that's watching, this is going to be a really unique anime preface. Follow with me here. Never heard this one before. So this guy transfers to a school where they fight. And they have professional fighting tournaments, and he's looking for his sister who went missing. I know. Never came close to seeing anything like that with Japanese fighting tournaments. It just never happens. But it's done by A1 Pictures. The animation is super slick. One of the best anime intros I've ever heard, both of them. Even the first outro is just unbelievably gorgeous. But yeah, it was really well done. I'm going to be starting Code Geass next. I know that Mike finally let me know that Yu Yu Hakusho's up there, but that is damn near 100 episodes, so I have to give myself a good chunk of time for when I want to binge through that.
Where'd you watch the Asterisk War? Netflix?
Hulu.
Oh, okay, nice.
Hulu. Yeah. Hulu's a safe haven for anime.
Are we ever going to do the Cowboy Bebop?
We are finishing up one, and we literally had like 6 or 7 lined up after that kind of clicked out, and you're next in line after that.
Okay.
Okay. We just had to finish out the train of stuff we promised, but yeah, we're good.
Cool. All right. Yeah.
Brock, did you see, since we're on the subject of you and anime, did you see the new Dragon Ball movie in theaters?
I did not. Mike would be the one to talk with more about that.
Well, the thing is, when it came out, it broke the record it was the first anime film to open at #1 since 1999's Pokemon, the first movie.
Yeah, that is a big deal.
Damn.
But it's cool. I mean, it's cool that a movie for such a niche audience is at #1. But at the same time, it's kind of like a wake-up call. It's like, that's where the box office is nowadays, that an anime film is #1.
Yeah. It is that, but it's also, that's one thing that is starting to get bigger. Where it's like,
ever since Sony bought Crunchyroll, yeah.
Sony now owns anime distribution.
Yeah, that and G-Kids. Actually, one of my the top 10 anime films of all time at the U.S. box office are Pokemon, the first movie.
Are these in order?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Demon Slayer, the movie, Mugen Train.
Okay.
Pokemon, the movie, 2000.
This is making more sense as it goes on.
Dragon Ball Super Brawly.
Okay.
Jujutsu Kaisen Zero, the movie.
Yep.
Dragon
Yeah.
Ball Super superhero,
Huh?
Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie,
Oh my.
Makes sense.
The Secret World of Ariete,
Nice.
Okay.
Pokemon 3, and Ponyo.
Pokemon 3 and Ponyo. I love how they're all, of course, all three of the first Pokemon movies are on there. No, Digimon gets no love. Of course, why not? Because story and everything's better, but it wasn't with Pikachu.
Yeah, and then it's like two of them from like Studio Ghibli, like the one anime studio that non-anime fans may like.
Exactly.
Accurate.
That's how it happens, you know. But yeah, well, but yeah, it's I don't know. I know I've shown Mike that document. I've over the years I'm very bad about watching animes that are recommended to me, and since we started Fresh Takes, I've gotten more into it. I think it's 5-page single space long of anime recommendations, just in an assorted list by episode count. It's so long, and I never realized how much it was. And then every now and then I'll get like an email that the document got edited because my roommate and a couple of friends have access to it. And I'm like, I can't see where they added one. Hold on, what did they do? But yeah, the list never ends. It always gets added to. But I'm not watching anything that's going. But I tell you right now, as soon as the second batch of Spy Family episodes gets done with, I'm watching that immediately, because everything I've seen from that just looks like the best thing ever.
We have to do some sort of whether it be Fresh Takes or just a Renegade podcast for Spy Family.
Spy Family is off the charts. I read an article also recently that the guy that made Spy Family absolutely cannot stand Lloyd and Anya because they weren't his idea.
Huh.
Like, he was made to put them in by the producer, and he doesn't like that they're as popular as they are because they weren't a part of his original idea.
That sounds an awful lot like how during the Android saga, Toriyama, the creator of Dragon Ball, had a lot of executive meddling. That's part of the reason why that arc in particular is so long and convoluted.
Really? You don't say.
Now, the reason why the Buu saga was long and convoluted is because that's when Toriyama said, "Fuck it, I'm doing my own thing. Nobody can stop me." So, yeah.
It started getting weird, but yeah, that was my month. Outside of like just doing stuff like that, having a friend from Canada visit, I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah, I'm about to start streaming even more stuff. I had to stop for a bit because, construction outside my house, but I'll be streaming Last of Us 1. Part 1. I'm pretty excited about that. But yeah. All right. So as we're doing with zeroing out here, I always have everyone wrangle up a topic that they want to talk about and bring it on in. So we've got 4 topics that we're going to discuss, and we are starting out with, we decided we wanted to go positive or negative first and go in one direction, and we'll let you guys figure out what we're going to do with first if we wanted negative first. Warner Bros. Discovery. So Kiona badly wanted to talk about this, and yeah,
strap in, folks.
Show. It's a shit show.
It is,
Kiona,
man.
Kiona, go ahead.
Well, I mean, is this actually my topic or is this Mike's topic?
Yeah, I
it
think
was
it's
your topic.
you're the one that brought it up.
It's technically everyone that wanted to talk about it, but
I guess it's kind of everybody's topic.
It's everybody's topic.
We wanted to talk about it. We probably want to talk about it unless you brought it up, Kiona, or someone.
Kiona, do you want to specifically start with Batgirl and Scoob? How those were the first two?
Let's start with Batgirl, shall we? And Scoob also. I don't want to discount Scoob because I actually didn't mind that movie so much, and I thought it was actually kind of charming and cute. But I mean, wasn't like the best movie I ever saw, but like, it's Scooby Doo. I mean, give it a chance, for God's sake. So apparently what went on is the Axe of Zaslav is hungry for blood, and the blood that it's eating is from the previous executives at Warner Media, I should say. And basically they had this plan that they were going to do like smaller DC movies and just and more streaming titles and that sort of thing. Largely, it came out of that same plan, disastrous plan that they had to try to to try to make something out of the pandemic and what was going on there, where everybody was just kind of all shut down and theaters were shut down. And it was a whole thing. You guys remember this?
Yeah, it was wonderful.
So what happened was they were just greenlighting a lot of like these smaller DC movies, like even a Wonder Twins movie, for God's sake. I didn't even know what that was going to be about, but apparently it was like the guy from Riverdale who plays Archie was going to be like one of the Wonders. He was going to be like Jace or something. But anyway,
Lord.
So Zaslav, to his credit now, I don't mind that he did this because it wasn't like it didn't get past casting. So like he shut that one down pretty quickly, which is understandable. They want to recover like how much is it, like $3 billion?
It was $3 billion.
Yeah,
in market
in debt.
cap.
So so that's the thing that they're trying to do here. So when it comes to like the Scoob 2 and Batgirl were apparently nearly in the can, like they were just about ready to go. And Scoob, of course, was all the work done by animators and stuff. These are people that they toil overly torturing themselves for animation and for things like this. And I can imagine just the crunch on this movie and just in terms of the technology that they had to use and in terms of like the techniques that they had to use and everything. So like Scoob is a film that probably has hundreds, if not thousands of hours of man hours of work put into it. And everybody on Twitter is, of course, they're, all the animators that worked on this movie are lamenting the fact. Yeah, they're just lamenting the fact that this movie is not going to be made. It's not going to be released.
So Mike just sent a private message.
Yeah.
Any for those of you taking a watch at home, want to take a guess at what the stock price for WB is right now?
I mean, hey, buy low, sell high. You know what I mean?
Holy crap!
Yikes!
That is horrendous.
Yeah,
that's
go woke, go broke, and data.
So my heart goes out to all the animators that worked on Scoob 2, and to all the voice actors and to everybody and the writers and the producers of this movie, because your movie is not going to be seen.
Oh, they will. They're showing a funeral showing of it.
Oh, except for that. Yeah, thanks for that.
Because that's not disrespectful.
That's not disrespectful. That's not rubbing your face in it at all.
On top of scrapping it from all the computers to make sure no one could ever rescue that poor thing.
Exactly.
And telling one of the directors about this during their wedding.
Oh yeah, that's Batgirl. So let's get to Batgirl here, because see, so it's the same thing as Scoob, where this movie is pretty much almost done. I mean, I think they said that they still need to get the score done. They still need to get like special effects done. It was pretty much, like principal photography was done. They did all their reshoots. It was ready to go. But Zaslav, because this is a product of Jason Kilar, Walter Amada, all those guys that were that were executives for DC and for Warner Media, before the big merger happened with Discovery. He comes in, he just chops it completely. It's off. Basically they say it's because of test screenings. It didn't test well. They're saying the quality of the movie is not up to where they want it to be. It's not up to their standards. My only concern, or one of my bigger concerns, I should say, for this is the fact that it's a Batgirl movie. It's a movie with a Latina lead, Leslie Grace, who just absolutely looked like she was going to kick this out of the park, and she looked really good in the role, I think. The costume, I think it's a good reflection of the Burnside costume in the comics. I think it actually works pretty well, as far as what I could tell. I mean, you're not going to get, it was a streaming movie, you're not going to get like a super, it doesn't have to be.
If it's
in the comics, she makes it herself.
If it's I was going to say, it's a no Batman money Batgirl costume.
It's a DIY thing for her anyway. And also, they got Michael Keaton in this movie. They got J.K. Simmons back to play Commissioner Gordon, who's her father. They got Brendan Fraser was gonna be. Is gonna be like, what was he gonna be like? Firefly.
He was gonna be Firefly.
Firefly. There you go.
He's about to be nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah. He's getting his career back on track.
We're in the Fraser Renaissance, the Fraser-sance, I guess you could call it. But I mean, like, so basically you have this movie, and it's also got Ivory Aquino, who is a trans, lead actress, who was going to be, well, she was going to be like the lead supporting actress, I should say, because she was going to play Barbara Gordon's best friend.
Yeah.
And that would have been a very interesting role. She was going to play Alicia. And I think in just torching this movie, in erasing it from existence, I feel like what you're doing here is you're taking an admittedly lesser known or more, I guess you could, it's like she's not a member of the Justice League or anything, she's the lesser known Batman character or Bat family character. Lesser known, so to speak.
Yes.
But quote unquote lesser known.
Yeah.
Because maybe some people in the mainstream don't know other than Yvonne Craig's Batgirl from like the 60s.
Mm.
But this is gonna damage their capability of doing like lesser known DC legacy heroes, or maybe just characters that don't have as wide a reach as Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. And when David Zaslav comes out there and he says, okay, we're going to focus on the big three, the Trinity. I mean, are you going to focus on them to the detriment of everybody else?
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the reasons why I liked the Suicide Squad films. I liked the first Suicide Squad. Okay, kill me. But the reason why I liked it is because you got to see characters like Killer Croc. You got to see Harley Quinn. You got to see Katana and all these characters that you wouldn't normally see on screen. Mm-hmm. And that was the fun of it. Even though it wasn't the best, the best film, the first one. James Gunn, thankfully, kind of saved it in the second one. But you at least got a chance to see a lot of characters that are more like fringe characters, like Starro. Who would ever put Starro as your big bad
original
villain?
Justice League villain.
Yeah, seriously. So my point is, I'm sorry for rambling, guys, but my point is that Batgirl as a film, it could have really been something. And as for people that are sitting there going well, obviously it didn't match their quality standards or whatever. We didn't see the movie.
Yeah.
How does anybody know that? Because test audiences are one thing, but you still, if the movie's ready to go, at least put it out there so that people have a chance to see it and judge for themselves. If Sony can release Morbius onto the world, we can have
the exact same thing. Wherever the test audience is and the quality control on that one.
Yeah, where was that all? Come on. You had, I mean, the first Suicide Squad movie was released onto the world as well. Come on, I'm not going to make any excuses for it, even though I did enjoy it for what it was.
No,
but,
I get it.
Yeah, to me, it just seems like, what if you want to see a Young Justice movie, or what if you want to see a Teen Titans movie, or you want to see something that is, hopefully different from that Titans show. But I mean, what if for crying out loud, what if they want to make a Red Tornado film one day, and just put it on HBO Max or something and just make it modestly budgeted? I mean, they're not going to do it now. They're just going to focus on the major, it's just going to be the same old all over again. I think.
And the thing is, Superman, even that's not a guarantee. I mean,
not anymore, apparently.
Man of Steel and Superman Returns, none of them resonated that well with audiences, and yet you're treating it like Superman, that's a guarantee, but Batgirl isn't.
Yeah, and it's to their detriment, Superman is a hard character to sometimes write a very good story around, because you have to engage an audience with a person that can be at points incredibly hard to connect to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if this means that they're canceling Batgirl, but at some point they're we can introduce Bat family members in a Batman film.
Yeah. Also,
that would be something different, but they didn't even try and mention that.
They just renewed that Alfred Pennyworth show up for like a third season?
No, the best part is it's called Pennyworth, and now it is called Pennyworth: The Origin of Batman's Butler.
Oh God.
It is the most intellectually insulting title, like subtitles I've ever read.
It's worth renewing, but you didn't think the people that knew what it was before knew what they were watching, that you had to renew.
Yeah, they're gonna call the next Batman movie the Batman, the guy who dresses up like a bat and fights crime.
Now, to be fair, I don't think many people knew that Pennyworth was a show because it was on Epix, which I don't know a single person who has an Epix subscription.
I don't. So what's going to happen with that Superman movie that they had pitched, where it was going to be like Val Zod, and it was going to be like Michael B. Jordan as Superman or something, as that version of Superman. I mean, what's going to happen with that? Obviously, I guess maybe it was just like talked about and not officially, but like like that's the Supergirl movie. Not to mention the whole drama going on with the Flash and all that. But I mean, I'm not going to get into that part of it. But it's just that, you had Michael Keaton in this movie. You had Brendan Fraser in this movie. J.K. Simmons was coming back. I mean, this was... I can't imagine that this movie was going to be like the most sucky movie ever made. Like, I can't imagine that. It's got to be better than Morbius. It's got to be... Like...
And one thing that makes this kind of even more fishy is recently the Blue Beetle movie was upgraded from HBO Max to theaters. So I have no idea why they pulled the plug on Batgirl for reasons other than slashing costs.
And take this for what you will, because I know some people don't have the strongest positive opinion of this guy, but Movie Bob did a video about this. I like him too. And it's interesting because he was talking about like think about who David Zaslav is. Like, this guy came in who did who revamped Discovery Channel and all this stuff, and then this is the Honey Boo Boo guy.
Yeah.
The Honey Boo Boo guy.
This is the guy who brought Honey Boo Boo to us, and brought us 90 Day Fiance, and what was the name of that one about the crazy family or something, like 20 and counting or whatever?
19 kids and counting. Recently. I
mean,
the dad just got sentenced to prison. I don't know, because
I don't watch that stuff, but it's just like and then they put out that disastrous thing about how they're the investor call, where they put out that graphic and they said like, the DC and all the Warner Brothers stuff kind of appeals more towards men, and then all the Discovery stuff appeals more towards women.
I'm gonna try to find that graphic.
Yes. Please.
How sexist doesn't even begin.
No,
it's such a broad generalization, and and then they put that whole they had the tier list of what's their top tier properties and all that. They had the Trinity. They had Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and then they had 90 Day Fiance. The 90 Day Fiance cinematic universe.
This reminds me of the when the people at Ninja Theory were talking about what makes Devil May Cry not, and they said Dante is not a gay cowboy, and they showed Dante photoshopped into a picture of Brokeback Mountain with his DMC4 outfit on. I'm like, it's because he had stirrups? Is that why? Why are we doing this? What? And then they're like, Dante is, and they showed him in a picture with Brad Pitt from Fight Club. I'm like, you have no idea what you're even talking about.
They're just memeing themselves at that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
or
boy.
memeing.
There we go. All right, I got it. Hold on. Give me a second.
Okay, yeah.
Let's do this. Where are we? Share. There we go. Oh my gosh, this is so dumb. Home of genre dumb.
Genre dumb?
Viewings, lean back, unscripted, female skew, scripted. What is lean?
What is lean in and lean back?
You want to know what dumb it is? It reminds me of the video game meme of your little brother's beating you, and all of a sudden you take it seriously and you lean in like it's to be taken more What does appointment viewing mean?
Appointment viewing. What is that
Appointment
about?
viewing is like Game of Thrones airs every Sunday at 9 o'clock.
Oh, so you're like, well,
so you just watch comfort shows whenever you want to, basically.
Yeah.
I hate this.
I don't even understand it. And then Jacob, to your point about the directors of Batgirl, which I'm gonna pull up right now.
Yeah, they directed Bad Boys for Life. Like that was like the #1 movie of 2020, and I know that has to come with a big asterisk for obvious reasons, but it's still that's an accomplishment, you know, like. That's nothing to sneeze at all, even if it's a year like 2020. I mean, and like you're giving them the property like that, you just decide to like pull the plug just to like save like for a tax write-off. It just yeah
for a tax write-off, and then you'll never be able, like, no one will ever be able to see it other than the funeral, screenings.
Fuck that.
Yeah, a friend of mine is commenting, Monica, you're correct. It would be too comedic. We can't have something like that happen. We have too much comedy nowadays. We can't do that. She said you should do a webtoon version of Batfam, but yeah, we couldn't do that. No, they wouldn't be okay with that. People enjoy that. Can't have those things. We can't have what was the Looney Tunes Justice League crossover thing called again? Where
Lunatics Unleashed.
Lunatics Unleashed, where it's like Daffy Duck was the Green Lantern.
Was that it? No, I think it was like
I don't remember what it is, but
Lunatics. It was like that super edgy show. Like they're trying to do Teen Titans, basically.
No, there was one where it was like Daffy Duck was Green Lantern. I can't remember what they were all based off of, but like Duck Dodger or something like that. I can't remember the heck it was called.
You're right. It was an episode of Duck Dodgers where where he somehow got Green Lantern's costume.
That's what it was.
That is what it was. Yeah.
That is such a core memory that is just locked away in the back of my brain that I barely knew anything about. But man,
the Batgirl directors are two men named Adil El Arbi and Bilal Fallah, and they were going to direct Batgirl, and apparently they were at somebody's wedding. One of them, they were getting married, and so one of the directors was getting married, and he finds out that they just totally just set fire to his entire film, basically, at his wedding.
Yeah, they CM Punk'd him.
They did. My God, I forgot to talk about that. But anyway, so I mean, what in the world is going on? And who would work for them? Who would work for Zaslav and his guys?
And then there's rumors from producers now that WB can barely come up with an advertising budget as it stands.
I don't know if that's like fully true, but if it was, like, it does kind of explain why now they only have like 2 films left on the calendar.
Don't Worry, Darling, and Black Adam.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
We gotta talk about how, like, the absolute purge of original titles on HBO Max.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so here are the HBO Max original titles that got the boot, essentially.
God, I don't know if you have time in the podcast for that list.
12 Dates of Christmas, About Last Night, Aquaman, King of Atlantis, Close Enough, Ellen's Next Great Designer, Esme and Roy, The Fungies, Generation Hustle, Generation, Infinity Train, Little Ellen, My Mom, Your Princess, Odo, Ravi Patel's Pursuit of Happiness, Summer Camp Island, The Not Too Late Show with Elmo, The Runaway Bunny, Theodosia, Tig and Sig, Yabba Dabba Dinosaurs, and that's not even mentioning the 6 movies, the 6 HBO Max movies. I'll bring that up. Hold on. Okay, so with no warning. Okay, the movies that they require, the Moonshot, Super Intelligence, The Witches, and American Pickle, Lockdown, and Charm City Kings.
Good Lord.
Jeez.
Yeah, I loved one that kind of hurt me was An American Pickle. We talked about that in the podcast. I loved that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that, Keanu? Remember that one?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't love it as much as you did, but I thought like
it was like
wasn't,
Brock. Do you remember? It was like a Seth Rogen movie where he plays like he also plays like his ancestor, like he fell into like a pickle jar and he was preserved in that pickle jar, and then he comes back 100 years later and he's lecturing his great grandson or whatever about life, about
as you do, as you do when you fall into a pickle jar.
As you do.
Yeah.
As you do.
Brian like preserved him and stuff.
Yeah. I only saw random trailers about it. That was it.
That was pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was actually a movie that they acquired from Sony because of COVID.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. I love that most of these they said they axed because they didn't want to pay what is it?
Royalties.
They didn't want to pay residuals.
Residuals.
Yeah.
Like Warner Brothers animation, their own animation. How much residuals are you paying yourself? What does that even mean at that point? You made it. What residuals are you paying yourself that you took it off the platform?
And apparently those residuals go to the people who actually worked on these shows, and that goes into like their healthcare, Medicaid.
Yeah, I'm sorry. When you can't take care of other people, I forgot about that. I apologize.
Yeah, which this is why capitalism was a mistake.
Not to mention that Batman Caped Crusader animated series is not going to be apparently on HBO Max anymore. Because
now it's being shopped around, and a couple of people want it. I can't imagine why. It's almost like it was a really good idea.
Disney should pick it up and put it on Hulu or Disney Plus. And just,
I would piss myself laughing if that ends up on Hulu.
Yeah. What sucks is that HBO Max has the domestic streaming rights to the Studio Ghibli catalog, while internationally they're all on Netflix.
Yeah. I want to say, was it Gwen? No, it wasn't Gwen. Who was it? It was someone that did an art commission for me a while back. That's a big DC fan. It's like, man, all these DC movies they have coming is really going to be great for whoever Discovery sells off DC Comics to in the future.
Actually, about that, something that a friend of mine was talking about was like who could potentially buy DC, and I think we both agreed that Paramount would be like the perfect home for them, which kind of makes sense because back in like the 40s, Fleischer Studios did all of those.
Oh yeah,
all of those Superman shorts, and those were like really well done for expensive.
Those are in the public domain, I think. The Superman shorts.
I think they are, or at least maybe one or two of them are.
Yeah,
it's
crazy.
Those are amazing, actually. The amount of animation that they did in those.
Yeah.
The amount of stuff they have, and they can't get their shit together and make money. You have DC Comics. That alone, what is even going on?
Zaslav has said like before that he wants to make DC their top priority, and while it's not officially confirmed, they seem to have found their Kevin Feige. Is
this the third time they've said they have a 10-year plan now?
I stopped keeping track long ago, but
why is it always a 10-year plan? How about we have a 2-year plan?
Is this like the Destiny 10-year plan that never really happened?
That's always the magic number where they're like, we know what we're doing. We got a 10-year plan. You do not know what's going on a year from now. Shut up.
DC's at a point where their most hyped up movie is Joker 2, which isn't even a fucking superhero movie.
Hey, I tell you, Joker's one of the best things they've come up with in a while, and that was sad that it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Everything that's been best is what's not been a part of their main continuity.
Yeah.
That's honestly true.
Christopher Nolan, he's at Universal right now, and he must feel so vindicated. But what he said, like he talked shit about Warner Brothers when they announced that they were going to release their entire 2021 slate simultaneously in theaters and on HBO Max. He said that the directors of all those films went to sleep that night, thinking they were working for the best studio, only to wake up the next morning to realize they were working for the worst streaming service.
Pretty much.
And he's off making like Oppenheimer, and he's like, "See, I bloody told you."
And that film is coming out the same weekend as a
As
Warner Bros.
Barbie.
Film. Yeah, Barbie.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So the guy who is supposedly the next Kevin Feige at Warner Brothers for DC is Dan Lin, who has produced things like the Sherlock Holmes movies, the Lego movie, the Lego Batman movie. He worked on Aladdin, the live action remake, the It films. He's been around the business for a while, but who knows if he's going to be the right guy? Because the thing that bugs me when studios say they want their own Kevin Feige is nobody is Kevin Feige but Kevin Feige.
But Kevin Feige.
Yeah. The dude was a nerd who happened to be given a lot of money and an opportunity.
Yeah.
He got into something incredibly fortunately, and now they're just like, I could find a guy who liked comics. That doesn't mean he can weave stuff together like that.
And he worked his way up through all the other Marvel films too that were the pre-MCU films.
Yeah, he earned it. A lot of people like to forget that. They just think that, he came up with the thing for Iron Man and no.
He's been in the business working like directly under Richard Donner right up until the first X-Men, and then just kept working from there.
Yeah, that was like an entire period where all Marvel, the only things that they were keeping them afloat was selling movie rights to these various studios, and now they're a point where they can only get successful from doing the MCU.
Yeah, because they damn near went bankrupt in the 90s. That's why you got all them cartoons and stuff, because they were selling off every right they humanly possibly could.
Yeah, and ever since, studios have been trying to do their own MCU, Universal with their Dark Universe.
Burned after one movie.
The Mummy from 2017. They were
after a couple of different ones. It gave up after the Dracula, then restarted again after the Mummy, and then they did.
First it was Van Helsing in 2004, then it was The Wolfman in 2010, then it was Dracula Untold in 2014, and then 2017. The Mummy, they were so confident in that one being the Kickstarter, was they gave it its own version of the Universal logo, or it's Dark Universe, or the Dark Universe, and then when that bombed, they just said, fuck it, the next movie, The Invisible Man, that's going to be a standalone movie. Johnny Depp's not playing him anymore. It's just going to be this psychological horror now.
Yeah.
About abusive relationships.
You had Tom Cruise at the head of your cinematic universe. The guy who was the biggest rumor for the longest time to possibly be Iron Man. And you...
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And then, Mike, I wanted to mention, too, that, Infinity Train, also gone. And I was just starting to like that show, let me tell you.
So the thing about Infinity Train is not only did they, remove it from HBO Max, they pretty much scrubbed its entire existence. Now the music is back on Spotify, but all of the marketing is removed from the YouTube channel. The pilot, which had 20 million views, that came out in 2016, gone. And then the only place you can find it now are VOD places like iTunes, Amazon, Vudu, Google Play, etc. But yeah, it's no longer on HBO Max, and while I wouldn't normally condone piracy, this is one of those cases where, do what you have to do to keep these shows alive.
Mm-hmm. And close enough. Another one.
People have been pointing us on Twitter. Wasn't the villain of Space Jam 2 an algorithm that was trying to delete all of Warner Brothers' classic characters?
Algae Rhythm.
That's one of the worst movies I've ever seen, Space Jam 2.
Don't worry.
So bad.
Pepe Le Pew is too inappropriate but the cast of Clockwork
Orange
throw
is-
them in there. They're perfectly fine for the kids.
It was a self-fulfilling prophecy.
And also, like, the devils. The
And I gotta
kid
say,
Russ-
Yeah, go ahead.
one more interesting thing about this whole drama is the fact that once Batgirl was given the axe, then it was revealed that Walter Hamada almost walked off the job.
Yeah, because
which
nobody
is
told him.
Interesting.
Nobody told him what was happening.
Nobody told him anything.
That sounds about
And that was
right.
supposed to be like his whole thing. Now I know that people have stuff against Walter Hamada and all that, but you know, I gotta say, like at Fandom that one year when he and Jim Lee were heading up the DC projects and stuff at Fandom, that was a pretty nice presentation. I mean, like they said stuff and they were talking about the multiverse and everything. I mean, it seemed like it was heading in an interesting direction at the very least.
Yeah, they were gonna have different stuff in different universes. A different plan than Marvel, but still interesting, where you can have different stuff happening. Where it was kind of like the '90s, where everyone got their own little trilogy, but if they
Exactly.
happened to boop over, you could see them with other stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like it's a big missed opportunity, and I feel like for a $90 million write-off, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't seem worth it to me. Like, at least let the people watch your movie before you make this big judgment call about how bad it is, or and then tell the directors during their wedding. I mean, it's a crap show.
At
You
the-
know,
At the
Yeah.
end of the day,
they're burning bridges.
Capitalism is going to capitalism, but at the very least, the biggest problem with Zaslav in his approach to all of this, he just simply doesn't have good bedside manner.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, we're in an age where Batgirl got canceled before it even got to get put on. When it's such a smaller project,
Mhm.
but yet they pumped so much money into Prey, and it went out on Hulu,
Yeah.
not in a theater.
Yeah.
What?
That
Like,
movie was
are you
freaking
kidding
awesome,
me?
Trey.
Yeah, Prey was great. That should have been in a theater. It would have
It
made you
should've.
money.
Yeah.
Just, I don't get the decisions behind stuff like that. All right. Do we have anything else we want to cover on this garbage?
I think we got through everything that we had to say.
How sad is it that this is all happening around the when Warner Brothers' 100th anniversary is right around the corner? You have this studio that has such a rich legacy of movies of either they made or they've acquired from purchases, like the Turner Library, for instance. Like, you have this incredible, just amazing back catalog of great titles and great entertainment, and this is how you celebrate their centennial. It's freaking tragic, man.
And all I see like advertised during like the AEW TV shows and stuff, all that you
Mhm.
see advertised is just like Discovery Channel
Yep.
stuff. It's like where the priorities are now.
Yeah.
I'm just, part of me wants to hope for a better future and for good things coming down the pike, but also I just really believe that we're gonna see Superman's 90-Day Fiance. That's what we're gonna see. It's gonna be all crossover shows. It's gonna be like Batman will be breaking down somebody's condominium and trying to rebuild it. I don't know what the hell we're gonna do. But anyway,
Superman's gonna leave,
like
and Superman's gonna leave Lois pregnant again.
that.
No, they'll put out a live action comic of that one where Superman tried to like kill Jamie Olsen of thirst out in the desert.
Oh,
But
I don't know.
anyway, let's
I
move
hope,
on to something a little
hope
bit more
there's
positive.
please do.
What Jacob wanted to talk about. I did not. Wow, and I can't even type when I did it. So we're going to talk about the Lord of the Rings TV show on Amazon, a streaming service that slightly has their shit together. Jacob, go ahead.
So, long story short, I think this series is enjoyable. I had a good time watching these 2 episodes. But with that said, I think there's a lot of room for improvement in the upcoming episodes. So,
Go ahead.
I I think, like, I do think the thing. I don't think it fully captures the magic of Tolkien's writings. I'll just say that much. It's a very well put together show. It's a very there are enjoyable moments in it. I do like, but the thing is though, the only time the show really grabs me is when it's alluding to characters that happen in the Peter Jackson films, and
Got it.
I do think I like the depictions of all the races. I like how it depicts the dwarves. I like how it depicts the people before the hobbits,
the Halfwoods.
the halfwoods, yeah. I like the scene. There's some one or two really stunning scenes in it. There's like I like the part where Galadriel, she's about to go to the Great Havens, but then she at the last minute jumps off the boat. I like the part where that creature through that Nen village. I'm guessing that was Morgoth. I looked. I no, it was Melkor. It was like Morgoth, I think. I'm guessing that's what it was. Like, and I like it briefly becomes a horror film in that area. So I enjoy it. It's a good show, but honestly, it kind of got me thinking like, how can you like adapt Lord of the Rings now and have it be truly amazing? Like, to really capture the uniqueness of Tolkien's writings. And it got me thinking like about I don't know, like how much of it is to like, how do you make a Tolkien adaptation that isn't spectacle heavy while still being visually interesting, while still acknowledging that Tolkien's expertise was really world building, not so much emotional moments, not so much, like really tugging your heartstrings and such. I'm rambling here, I acknowledge, but yeah, I think yeah. Closing thoughts. I don't regret watching it. But I'm open to it becoming a better show. I'm open to that possibility.
What you're saying is you want an anime episode by episode of Random Tales from the Silmarillion, is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
I would prefer that.
Kiona, you weren't a big fan?
I only saw the first episode, which I understand is the slog episode. It's a slog to get through. But it didn't leave me wanting to watch any more of the show. It just left me sitting there going, like, what even? Okay, so they're looking for Sauron. I get it. What else is happening? Why should I care? I don't know why I should care about this whole entire enterprise. Like, I don't know. To me, like, I could understand if I was reading the books. I probably, like, reading the books is one thing. Watching this show is entirely another. I feel like it's the community theater version of Lord of the Rings. Like, we've already had the really great trilogy by Peter Jackson, which I know is not flawless, but it was great for what it was.
Yeah.
And then this just looks like a poor imitation, a pale imitation of what we already have.
It looks more
Why
like
is
The
this
Hobbit.
necessary?
It looks more like the Hobbit trilogy than it does Lord of the Rings.
I mean, I like the Hobbit trilogy much more than this. Much more than this, because at least it had character. At least it had like a cast of people who were just like that opening to the Hobbit where they come in and they just completely wreck Bilbo's house. I mean, that was fun. At least that was fun.
That was.
Yeah.
This had no sense of fun. This had no sense of stakes or drama. Even when they fight the ice troll or the snow troll, whatever they called him, just Galadriel just goes in there. She just cuts it down in like 3 strokes with her sword. It's
actually, I think its seriousness is kind of why I personally prefer it over the Hobbit trilogy. I feel like that epic scale is more suitable for this than it is in the Hobbit.
True. I mean, I
get you, man. I get you. Not trying to change it. No,
it's okay. But I mean, I wish that I felt that way about it, because I really don't. I just think that to me, it feels like it's a waste of time. Like, why am I even watching this? And it's sad to say that because I like Bear McCreary's score, and I love the visual. Like, the visual design is really nice. You can tell that they spent money on this thing.
It's like
I
$30
don't
million
know.
an episode or something.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
up to, with the whole production budget was, I think, $1 billion.
Jeez.
I mean, they obviously spent a lot of money on this show. It does look like a movie. It looks filmic, but the thing is, the acting is kind of not always great, in my opinion. It's just
Do you think that's up to
okay
direction?
to above average. I'm sorry, what did you say,
Do you think that's up to how they're directed, or you just how?
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, okay.
It could be.
I was just wondering.
Yeah, I like I said, it's community theater. That's what this feels like. It feels like very expensive community theater to me, and I'm just like, I don't know that I have time for that.
I get what you're saying, Mike.
So I'm actually the most optimistic out of
Shocking.
Out of all of us. Yeah, I know.
Mike is positive.
It's a
Get out of town.
It's a day that ends in Y. So just to give a little context of where I'm coming from, I may not be the biggest Tolkien fan, but I grew up like my family grew up like fans of the books, and when the movies came out in theaters, we all saw them together. I only haven't seen the extended editions, and they're coming to my theater later this month, so I'm definitely looking forward to that. But as far as this show goes, I think it does a really good job of adapting what is basically the prologue from Fellowship of the Ring. They take that and have made pretty much a series out of that little introduction. And based on the first 2 episodes, I really like the direction the show is going in. Yeah, I'll admit the first episode is a bit on the slow side, just because they have to establish like this whole world, introduce all of the characters, and it's a pretty big setup episode. But episode 2 is probably the one that I enjoyed the most, because you do get a little bit more you get more fun character moments. Like I think the best scenes are when Elrond is interacting with Durin.
They have a trial by stone.
Yeah, they have a trial by stone, and it's just delightful. So if you are a big Tolkien fan, then you probably should give this show a watch. Now, one thing I do have to address, because it's always going to come up, is there's a lot of bad faith criticism surrounding the casting of certain characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And basically it comes down to saying you're racist without saying you're racist.
Yeah, they're part of the reason why I wasn't that enthused to share my kind of lukewarm thoughts on it, just because it brings me closer to having to associate with those people, which I just really hate having to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just dumb. Go ahead.
For me, even though I have like a negative view on the show so far, like I don't want it to fail. I don't want it to be like, a miserable experience for people to watch it. I'm just saying what I thought of it, because like, and I am going to watch the second episode, of course, because just to give it a fair shot, Actually, I'm going to watch this show no matter what. I think I'm going to watch it anyway, but it's just, yeah. And that's not what I mean when I said like the acting, but it's just, to me, it's just certain, like Brock, like you were saying, I think it might be the direction in some cases where it's like, it's not so much the actors, it's more like, I don't know, it's just oddly, certain things were just oddly done, I think, in my opinion. But like I said, just the first episode.
Do you think the problem is like that Amazon doesn't have like the full rights to like the Tolkien library, that they only have Yeah, like they
Is this the Wizard of Oz situation where they can only do stuff that was done in the books and not stuff that was made otherwise?
Actually, it's the opposite, where
The opposite.
they can only adapt the material that has already been adapted, as opposed to stuff like the Silmarillion.
Oh,
So
weird.
they're working with even less material.
That sucks.
That's really strange.
Yeah, they had to rip like from the appendices of the book.
That sucks.
That was such a weird thing to learn about too. That Embracer Group had like bought all the rights to everything, besides this show. Like,
although to be fair, the first chapter of the Silmarillion, that would be impossible to adapt.
Yeah, that's true.
I did not know that.
I will say, in the show's defense, it does capture. My favorite parts are actually when they discuss the main theme of Lord of the Rings, and that is unity.
Mm-hmm.
When Durin and Elrond, Durin and Durin's wife, when they have that discussion about unity, and I think that is something that Tolkien would very much approve of.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, yeah, that I had no freaking idea they could hold. That is such a hindrance.
Yeah, they're such pigeonholed. Like, is that the only reason why they were able to make The Hobbit, was because Rankin and Bass had already adapted it?
I'm not sure about that. The rights to the Tolkien library are weird. But there is one project that's coming out in 2024 from Warner Brothers that I'm genuinely looking forward to. It's an anime film called Lord of the Rings: The War of the Rohirrim.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's I never thought it started by Kenji Kamiyama, and he's directed a bunch of anime like Ghost in the Shell, and actually I did, believe it or not, I actually saw his most recent movie, Napping Princess, in the theater.
Nice.
And I was the only one in it, of course. I will admit, it never occurred to me while watching, like, yep, this guy's directing a Lord of the Rings movie. I can tell. Like, not even a Lord of the Rings movie, but in like for Hollywood.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the last thing I saw of his was he directed the Star Wars Vision short, The Ninth Jedi, which is also awesome. So I'm very excited to see what he does in Middle Earth.
And he worked on like that Blade Runner anime too.
Yep, he did the series Black Lotus.
Yeah.
So he already has experience of like directing like adaptations of Warner Brothers property.
Mm-hmm.
What's interesting about like Lord of the Rings, it's got like a complete different voice cast, with the exception of Miranda Otto as Eowyn.
Oh yeah,
she's the narrator actually. I do kind of like, if they can find a way to like organically bring Ian McKellen as Gandalf, I'd be absolutely down for that.
And he'd probably be down for that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And it's like one thing that is like dialogue wise, I've only seen snippets of it because my life has been insanely busy over the last few months outside of streaming and getting stuff ready for my buddy to come. So I haven't gotten to see a full episode of it yet. I've just seen dialogue snippets and stuff like that. And one thing that I always loved about Lord of the Rings, or at least the beginning ones, and it was a little bit in The Hobbit, but not as much, and I wanted more of it, which is weird because it's not the same people writing it. The thing that I always appreciate about those old Lord of the Rings movies is their dialogue was not overcomplicated, but it was impactful. I can't remember, off the top of my head, I can't remember which female says it. Oh, it's not Evangeline Lilly. I can't remember what the character's name was, but they're protecting Frodo, and they're Arwen. And they're literally coming after him, and all she literally does is pull her sword. She says, "If you want him, come and claim him. Come and claim him." And that was the most badass thing she ever could have said. It's the most simple line ever, but that delivery was just off the charts, and it was great. It was the most simply written line ever. But little stuff like that, or like, "No man can slay me. I am no man," and it stabs him clean through the helmet.
Yeah, I gotta say, if Fellowship of the Ring, if that came out right now, the Tolkien, like, the bad faith, like, chuds would say, complain of how woke it is because in the books, Frodo, rides across the river by himself and he defends himself, but in the movie, it's Arwen. So
Oh.
they've been claiming about woke feminist propaganda or some such horse shit.
I
Everything's
swear
wrong.
the word woke has
Completely
has
lost
lo-
its meaning.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just literally just any progressive representation at this point. Like back then, like woke was used like to describe when a corporation did it when it felt insincere. Like I know Lindsay Ellis, she did one about like woke Disney about how when they do it, it doesn't feel like it's rainbow capitalism. But here, it's just like completely like it's literally just anything you disagree with at this point.
No, absolutely. Two words have lost their meaning over time. The most recent one was woke, and the hot word when insulted anyone that you did not like for the past like 5 years was the word cuck. No one knew what that word meant, but if you did not like them, they were a cuck. No one knew what it meant, but that's what they were. And I'm like, you have no idea what you're even talking about. Like, it's just, it becomes a hot button word, and then everyone says it.
Yeah.
Just no. I'm sorry, but no. It was like the not realization whenever it's like, I live in northern Wisconsin. So preface that with this. Everyone I drive around has Confederate flags on trucks. I'm like, guys, A, you live in the North. B,
I was gonna
that
say.
flag doesn't mean what you think it means.
No.
At all. But it's just like, no, man, it means rebel pride and all that. I'm like, no, it
No.
doesn't.
You sure
doesn't.
about that?
No.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone is just it's a pick a representation, and that fits everything. Because you can't come up with individual thoughts, so it all has to be regurgitated nonsense because you can't come up with something.
That's right.
Another thing I kind of want to bring up is are there any other like Lord of the Rings adaptations that you guys have seen? Because I know there aren't that many. There's also has anyone ever seen like the Ralph Bakshi Lord of the Rings anime movie, for instance?
I haven't
never
seen that
even
one,
heard of
but
that.
I've when I was younger, my uncle showed me the Rankin Bass adaptations of Return of the King and The Hobbit.
I will say like it kind of goes out saying that Rankin Bass's their approach to The Hobbit is much more appropriate for that source material than it is with Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah.
Because remember, Return of the King, that was the one where the orcs sing, "Where there's a whip, there's a way. Where there's a whip," like that just became a meme.
Nice. But no, my favorite my outside of the original Lord of the Rings films, my favorite anything that's been done with Lord of the Rings was Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor, the video games, where they just literally come up with a brand new character and then make him just do some cool shit and end up as a different character.
Oh, that's cool.
It's awesome. He gets possessed by the ghost of the person that created the original Rings of Power.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome.
Yeah. Actually, I think the best adaptation of Lord of the Rings isn't a visual one. It's actually the 1981 BBC radio series.
Don't think I've heard that one.
Well, the thing is, so it makes it's because one, it's a radio series, which means that it's mainly all about Tolkien's writing. Okay, it never gets lost. Means it can never get lost in the spectacle like the Peter Jackson films are sometimes guilty of. Like you have to use purely your imagination for it, and it just captures that kind of that British old school like that kind of that mythic that serious tone of the books very well. And I have to point out that Frodo in the BBC radio series is performed by Ian Holm.
Oh,
who will go on to play Bilbo in the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Oh, that's cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
a nice little turnaround. All right. Anything else we want to bring up on that? Because that feels like we nailed that pretty well to the wall.
There's
we're good otherwise, man. You don't got to come up with something if you don't need to.
No. I know. I will say the Ronald Bakshi one. A lot of people, a lot of Tolkien purists really don't like. I like it because it kind of captures, like, it's less spectacle. It's more gritty. It's more atmospheric. It's less polished as the Peter Jackson show. I think it kind of captures that more subtle, more linguistic, more that kind of like that gritty, more serious tone of it. I think it is a very impressive work of art, even with all its flaws. I do think it is well worth checking out. Also, John Hurt plays Aragorn in it, which how can you go wrong with that?
That's really good.
That is really good. All right. Then we are going to move on to what Mike wants to talk about. Go nuts, buddy.
All right. So, The Sandman is a comic written in 1989 by Neil Gaiman, and since like the 90s, there have been multiple attempts to adapt this comic in some capacity. I think there have been like 3 or 4 different film scripts. The worst one that Gaiman kind of leaked online like years ago was, shocker because this comes from John Peters, somehow involved a mechanical spider.
What is with him and his mechanical spiders? What's happening with that?
I have no idea.
He's obsessed with that idea of like heroes fighting giant mechanical spiders.
It's come up in this, in Superman Lives, and it finally showed up in the Will Smith movie Wild Wild West.
Good Lord. I knew about Spider. I knew about Superman, but I didn't know about Sandman.
So before this became like a series, the last like major attempt to adapt this into a film was in 2013 when Joseph Gordon-Levitt was attached to star and or direct.
Mm-hmm.
That was like Warner Brothers' attempts to create a at the time a Vertigo imprint of movies. That was before Vertigo was discontinued.
Mm-hmm.
And then cut to years later, after Neil Gaiman worked on the series Good Omens, he finally started to get going on turning the first 2 volumes of the comics, Preludes and Nocturne and The Dollhouse, into the first season of Sandman. And as an adaptation of the source material, this is probably one of the best shows I've seen in a while. Never mind the fact that this is just based on a comic book, and yeah, they had to make a few changes, because they kind of scrubbed out a lot of the DC, like the more explicit DC references. Like, for example, John Dee was never like the supervillain, Dr. Destiny, and in the show he's just in some random mental hospital as opposed to Arkham Asylum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just in the show in general, there's no mention of like superheroes at all, except for in the second half in the Dollhouse episodes. One of the characters, Jed Walker, is in this he's in this dreamscape where he's like he thinks he's the superhero, the Sandman, and they make some cute references to a bunch of DC villains like the Pied Piper, Captain Cold,
Nice.
a couple others.
Yeah.
But yeah, just in general, the show is just it is amazing how well this material translated to television. The cast is excellent. The main actor, Tom Sturridge, is Dream or Morpheus, and he looks like he was ripped right from the comics. Then you have Boyd Holbrook as the Corinthian, Vivienne. I don't know. I'm going to butcher this last name. Akiampong as Lucien, and then Patton Oswalt plays Matthew the Raven, and he's definitely one of the highlights.
Yes.
We have David Thewlis as John Dee, Jenna Coleman as Joanna Constantine, who is kind of replacing John Constantine for the series. And in the comics, Joanna is like one of John's distant relatives from, 1700s. But
she's like an ancestor of John Constantine or something.
Yeah, but for this series, Jenna Coleman is playing both like a modern day version and John's ancestor. Then we have Gwendolyn Christie as Lucifer Morningstar, Kirby Howell Baptiste as Death. You have Ferdinand Kingsley as Hob Godling, who's one of Dream's friends, who's basically immortal, and they meet in one of the best episodes of the series. There's an episode where Dream and Hob meet every 100 years just to catch up, see how he's doing, seeing how the world has changed.
And that was an interesting episode because that was actually a combination of two comic book issues, two comic book stories.
Yeah, episodes 5 and 6 are kind of like they're two different stories, kind of adapted as one. Episode 5 adapts 24 Hours and Sound of Fury. This is where John Dee kind of goes into a diner with Dream's Ruby, and he's basically just like he makes a wish that everyone would tell the truth in the vain hopes that he's changing the world, but what actually happens is chaos ensues. And then episode 6 adapts The Sound of Her Wings and Men of Good Fortune, and that's the story where Dream and Hob have their appointments every 100 years. And then episodes 7 through 10 are like an adaptation of The Doll's House, which involves a dream vortex in the form of Rose Walker, who is the granddaughter of, I forget her name, but she was someone who had this sleeping disease that she had this disease where she was asleep for however many years, and this results in Rose becoming a dream vortex that combines the dreams of everyone around her, and that's like what the Corinthian wants. He wants to take over the dreaming, so he's using Rose to obtain this power. And this show is amazing. If you're a fan of Neil Gaiman, if you're a fan of the Sandman comic, or if you're like not familiar with the comic and just want a good like dark fantasy series, you should definitely check this one out.
Yeah, I'm waiting on a friend who wants to watch it with me, so I sadly haven't been able to watch it yet, but I wasn't going to not let you talk about it. So I was like, well, bring it up. I know Mike wants to talk about it. Have you seen it, Jacob?
I have not, no.
Oh, okay. Do you want to? Or is it interested? Or
I could. I just need to just reinstate my Netflix subscription because my mom paid for that and she's cutting ties. She's cutting costs on streaming services, so I'm gonna have to get around to subscribing to Netflix by myself.
No, I get you on that.
It's expensive. Streaming's expensive, man. And I
Streaming,
know that
streaming services are getting very
Outrageous.
costly.
yeah, wasn't the whole point of streaming services that they would replace cable?
Well, to a degree they do, but it's just that depends on which ones you want.
Yeah.
They need to be more expensive because now they can't even pay for their own rights. Supposedly, I heard some nonsense that Disney doesn't make a profit off of Disney Plus. I'm like, with just your subscribers, you make the entire gross of Endgame a month.
Yeah.
How much are your rights fees? Like, for real. It's ridiculous.
It's kind of amazing how Apple TV Plus is one of the cheapest services out there at only like $4.99, and I think the reason they can afford that is because they're fucking Apple.
Streaming's not exactly their main priority.
Yeah, it's literally a side hustle. Kind of the same thing with Amazon Prime Video. It just comes with Amazon Prime.
Yep.
So like you get that plus all the other benefits.
Well, it's like they don't have like an entire library of like of back catalog that they have to rely on to lure customers. Like they can just coast on just fine with their original properties.
Yeah. I mean, and they are the ones who own MGM now, but the thing with the MGM library is that's kind of split up into parts. Like Warner Brothers owns all of their pre-1986 catalog, and then I think there's like some rights that were at one point with 20th Century Fox.
That's the thing. Like before, like the streaming services came around, like they would give the rights to their back catalog. They would just piecemeal them across all of these different broadcast channels. And now with streaming coming, like, oh shit, we can like have our own streaming service based entirely on our brand. And oh no, we just gave the rights to all these different broadcast channels, so we just gotta wait for them to like to get those back. For those to expire to like get the really popular ones back.
Yeah, it's like then there were total streaming services being based off of the fact that we have Friends. Yeah. Don't you want to watch Friends again? What else do you have? I don't know.
The Office was another movies? One.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Office and Friends, I think, were the two shows that for the longest time carried Netflix.
They were paying out.
Actually, the main show that's carrying Netflix was Breaking Bad. Actually,
that was another one,
and that's expiring, and they're losing the rights to that in a couple of years.
Yeah, but yeah, there was something that people got pissy recently because they kept canceling a couple of their shows, but they kept Friends. But it's like something broke loose about the astronomical rights fees that they had to pay to keep Friends over there.
It was like it was I think somewhere in the millions.
Yes. And The Office and Peacock, they're getting most of their revenue from just making The Office their main marquee title. Is like they're leveraging The Office, and like Peacock gets like The Office streaming service.
Yeah, and like Peacock, the other big thing they just got is WWE. But now there's even talks now that like Nick Khan of like the main financial officer for WWE is like, yeah, we might switch in the future. Like Netflix is a possible bidder. I'm like, like for Raw and SmackDown, like not on cable anymore. I'm like,
and apparently
again.
And apparently, Universal still has to release Halloween Ends day and date just so they can bring in more subscribers. Halloween Ends.
Good.
It's
sure-
a freaking Halloween movie, and that's getting a day and date release.
Halloween.
I'm sure that will work out well.
Halloween has the possible. If you read all those titles in a row, Halloween has the worst naming convention humanly possible.
It's certainly up there.
Hold on. List of Halloween films in order. I looked at this the other day. It's just the worst. Okay.
Yeah, like
Halloween,
the
Halloween 2, Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, Halloween 4, Halloween 5, Halloween The Curse of Michael Myers, Halloween H2O, Halloween Resurrection, Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween, Halloween, Halloween Kills, Halloween. There's 3 different films called Halloween.
Yeah. Oh god.
It's insane.
Yeah.
But Keon, I have to ask you, since I think you and I are the only ones who have seen it. Your
Okay.
overall thoughts on Sandman?
Oh yeah, okay. So, so what I did was when I was just starting to watch the show, I made a decision like, okay, I'm going to shut this off and I'm going to go and read the source material first, and ended up uh ended up getting through just enough. Like I got all the way to I want to say to where they ended with the show, including the bonus episode, and just read through that. Because I'm somebody who actually missed out on Sandman the first time around. Like I never read the comics until fairly recently, and then going back and rereading them now was very interesting. Actually, I think it's the most faithful adaptation of comic book source material that I've seen in quite a while.
And it helps that Gaiman was like,
Yeah.
he wasn't just like an executive producer. He was like in the trenches, in the writing room.
There are no giant mechanical spiders in this one, and there's no plot about how Lucifer, Morpheus, and the Corinthian are all like triplets or something, and going to gather like all of Sandman's missing his missing like the ruby and the helm and the little packet of the dream dust. Like there's no plot about that, on like New Year's Eve 1999. They're all triplets, and they're all gonna go and find those 3 items, the 3 talismans.
I like
a ridiculous idea.
I like the way it was handled here, better than any of the leaked scripts that we've seen before.
God, that just sounds horrible. Anyway, good thing Neil Gaiman leaked that to Ain't It Cool News back in the day, because that would have been disastrous. I think no one would have been interested in the Sandman after that, which is sad because let me tell you, this show is, I think, in some ways it's very different from the comics, like you said, Mike, with all the changes that they had to make to like the DC, hero stuff, and also in terms of making Joanna Constantine sort of take the place of John, even though she is a character in the books. Like she exists in the books, in the source material, so it's not like they didn't just.
But Kiona, it's a woke gender swap. That's why they did it.
Oh, obviously that's why. No, I'm kidding. But I mean, like seriously though, Jenna Coleman just kills in that role. Like she's so good. And they actually did the origin. They did an accurate representation of the origin of John Constantine too, with her character, which was interesting. Well, like I didn't expect that in this show. I think she was my favorite character on the entire show, other than Death herself. Like, The Sound of Her Wings was an incredible episode. It's an incredible issue of the comic as well. Like that introduction to Death is astonishingly good. And here, I think the actress just nailed it completely.
She did.
Like I was thinking, okay, how are they going to play this exactly? But they ended up just making her so interesting and just layered and compassionate. Like what an interesting version of Death. I don't know how Neil Gaiman gets his ideas. Like I'm obviously they come from a lot of mythology and a lot of like, just taking like just really amalgamating all these different ideas of what Death is and just making her and personifying her as that character. Just a fascinating version of concept to begin with, and that goes for Dream as well. That goes for Morpheus too, and that goes for like Desire.
Yeah.
Like, how in the world?
One of my favorite stories about how Desire was cast.
Yeah.
Basically, they just said on Twitter like,
Yeah.
It's like I would like to know I would like to know how I can be cast as or like they just said like I would really like to play Desire, and Neil Gaiman's like, do you have an agent? And yeah, that's how it happened.
Nice.
And they and Mason Alexander Park, I think, is the name of the actor, of the performer, and I think they did a really good job in Cowboy Bebop as well, which I know that not a whole lot of people had, a positive impression of that show. I thought it was pretty okay. Like towards the end, it kind of made up for missteps in the beginning. I think it wasn't like the best show I've ever seen, but it was all right. Sandman, however, complete opposite thing. Like from minute one, I was hooked into this show. I loved it. I thought that just in terms of the way that they presented everything, it was so true to the tone of the comic, and it was so like multifaceted and just layered with meaning. And those are the types of shows that I like.
Same.
And the types of adaptations that I like too. I mean, if I were to compare this to, say, the Halo adaptation, this is how you adapt source material. You do not take the source material and then just completely transform it into something that it's never meant to be. I'm sorry. The Halo adaptation was just, I don't want to be mean and say garbage, but yeah, it was garbage. Sandman itself, though, was, I think, the best that they possibly could have done with this premise. And it's a complicated narrative. Like it's almost an anthology. There's not really, what they did to give it a through line was they made the John D episodes kind of stand together in the Rose episodes, and then the Corinthian, of course, being like the entire through line, like the villain of the season.
I think the smartest decision they made was introducing the Corinthian towards the beginning, and just kind of like make his presence known throughout the whole thing, so that once you actually get to the dollhouse, he becomes a bigger threat.
Yeah, it's. I think Boyd Holbrook, man, just like after playing Pierce in Logan, and then playing this, and I know wasn't he in like Narcos?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, like he's just. Yeah, he's an amazing actor. Like seriously, I just want that guy cast as a villain all the time. He nails it every time.
Very good smug prick.
Really good at that. Really good at that. And I love the usage of the Heavy song also at the end of episode 8, like the Big Bad Wolf. Like that was amazing. Dave McKean's artwork, those little kaleidoscopic art pieces that they did for the end credits too, that was just incredible stuff. Like, yeah, this show and like Gwendolyn Christie as Lucifer, like for me that's a little bit of a hard sell, just because I love Tom Ellis's Lucifer. I love like that version of Lucifer so much, but like, and that version of Mazikeen as well. She's like my favorite character on that show. To do it as well as they did here on Sandman, like I just want to see all these different versions of the characters just get together and party. Like, let's just have like Matt Ryan's John Constantine just show up and Tom Ellis's Lucifer just show up and just like have a big crossover event, because that would just be, it would be completely immersion breaking, but it would be so awesome. Like I just want that to happen so badly. Like have Matt Ryan, John Constantine meet up with Jenna Coleman, Joanna Constantine, and just see what would happen. Like they would just probably just quit being around people and just go hang out at a bar and just get really drunk and start a bar fight together.
You know what speaking of crossovers, one that will absolutely never happen, but I really want to see, the Children's Crusade.
Yes. Yes.
For those that don't know, this was a like a mini crossover that happened in the early '90s as you know, it was a crossover with Book of Magic, Black Orchid, Animal Man, Swamp Thing, and Doom Patrol.
Oh my god.
And I think even the Dead Boy detectives were involved as well. This would like there's no way this would happen. But if they were to make like either an animated movie or like maybe like a mini series on HBO Max or something, that would just be it would be really cool.
That would be awesome, man. Like I could, yeah. Jeez. Well, now you got me thinking. But like, yeah, I would love to see that first of all. But I think that like what they did with this show, this and The Boys, I think are my two favorite comic book adaptations right now.
The Boys is mine because the thing that's weird with The Boys is
Yeah.
I have a friend that's very into it and has read all of it.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last time where I looked at the reviews for an adaptation, and everyone who has not read the comics to everyone that is the biggest, hardest fanboys have went, yeah, this is a better version.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
Like our Garth Ennis lost his mind at the end and just didn't care and went off a cliff, and everyone's like, no, this is doing a better version of what he was going for. And I'm like, no,
Yep.
I can't find anyone that's genuinely interested in the show that watches it because they really like it. Like it does, like yeah, it's just better. This is just way better.
Yeah, what
ridiculous.
the Boys has done as an adaptation is it's kind of elevated the source material, and what this did as an adaptation was it just translated it almost entirely faithfully, like nearly faithfully, screen. And that's exactly what you had to do with Sandman, because it's just such it's a seminal work.
It is
so psychologically complex. I love it.
This is why you can't like I think the only way you can adapt Sandman into a movie is if you were to take like maybe one issue of the comic and kind of expand that to 90 minutes, but even then like you're still for like to expand one issue would be to add too much filler, but one issue out of like the entire series also just wouldn't be enough.
Mhm.
Like that's why I've always believed that television is the best medium to adapt the storytelling of comics, because they're both serial long form storytelling.
Yeah.
And it just leaves room for like more character development, more world building, and like experimentation with stories. Like the bonus episode, which is like split between two short stories, the Dream of a Thousand Cats and Calliope, which are both excellent. I love the the very paint like animation of the Dream of a Thousand Cats, and then Arthur Darvill as the main character, like the main protagonist of Calliope, is perfect, because you're like most people probably know him for like his work on Doctor Who or Legend of Tomorrow, where he's generally a good, like a decent person.
Yeah.
Some baggage here and there, but generally he's on the right side of history. This guy, however, he starts off like innocent and naive, but like the more he's taking advantage of Calliope's gifts, like the more self-absorbed and like obsessed he gets with the fame that he's been that's been given, and basically all of that goes to his head to the point where he actually goes insane.
There's so much meta commentary on what it means to be a writer or a storyteller in this show.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't help but think that like Neil Gaiman is just doing this all on purpose. He's just like, he has the character that just comes right out and says writers are liars. And he has and just the way that Calliope is treated in the comics, it's actually even darker than the way that you go. Like just the idea of like, as a writer or as somebody who writes things, and then you say like, oh, I'm waiting on my muse. And he literally has a muse sitting there in his home, in her room, locked up. And just like, it's an abusive relationship. It's just like, yeah, it's stunning the way that like Neil Gaiman just is able to put forth these ideas and these stories and just make them work.
Mm-hmm.
Like 24/7. Just the way that he has John D just kind of like manipulate everybody into doing exactly what they didn't want to do, and just brings about like their darkest desires and just the worst part of humanity, like just how depraved he was as a character. It's yeah, I don't even know where that came from, but it's so fascinating. And of course the serial convention.
Oh my god, the serial convention was that was certainly something else.
The dark humor and the satire of that, like in the comics, there's just a splash page in front of that story where it's an American flag, and it says, and it has the title of the story in there, which I'm forgetting right now because I'm too hyped up. And man, episode titles, what were they called?
Hold on.
What was the name of that one?
Are you talking about episode 8?
Episode 9, I think it was.
Oh, episode 9.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name of it, but
oh, episode 9 is called Collectors.
Collectors. Yeah. So, first of all, it's a satire of a comic convention, basically.
Nice.
It's like a satire of that. It's a satire of like the idea of entrepreneurs. Like he calls them entrepreneurs. Like it's so fascinating to me, and just all the idea behind it, and just how terrifyingly like mundane it is. Yeah, this show just resonated with me on so many levels. It's just such a good show.
Nice.
I think that I don't know. I wonder if they could do a season 2, because this also costs a lot of money. This was like, what was it? Like $15 million an episode? Like it doesn't. It's one of those shows. It doesn't look like a TV show. Mm-hmm. The CGI, the effects, the set design, everything is just so well done. I don't know that they can do it.
I hope they get a second season, because apparently the show has been doing like really well on Netflix. It was like it was number 1 at least for like a week in certain countries.
Yeah. I hope so. I hope it continues to be, doing good numbers for them, because it deserves a second season. But judging from what I hear and from what I've read about the next stories coming up, it's going to be hard for them to even cut the budget at all. Like,
Yep.
Yeah, that'll be something they have to figure out. But
so don't shop it to HBO Max. That's for sure.
Yeah, keep
right
it
now.
keep it away from keep it away from Zaz from
keep it away from the act.
Shop it out to Amazon.
Yeah. Oh God.
One last thing I'll say before we move on is something else that this show is inspired is I really and I'm not even sure why, but like the style and the tone of this series remind me a little bit of Mike Flanagan's style. So I would love to see Gaiman and Flanagan team up on something, whether it's another adaptation of one of his books or comics, or something original.
Maybe something like 1602.
Oh my god, that if there's ever like a Marvel like Disney Plus or maybe even a Hulu series for 1602, these two should absolutely do it.
And we got to mention too Alan Heinberg, who is the showrunner and executive producer of the Sandman series too, because he's really good, and he's also the co-creator of Young Avengers.
Who was the person that Mark Hamill voiced in the show?
Oh, Merv Pumpkinhead.
Yeah.
Oh,
I've seen only clips of him so far.
Yes.
Apparently, he's not this isn't the first time he's voiced a character with a pumpkin for a head, is it?
He technically voiced Hobgoblin who threw pumpkins. I'm trying to think of who else he voiced. He voiced one of the villains in Avatar.
Oh yeah,
Ozai.
It's Ozai.
Fire Lord Ozai. Yeah.
He's got a bigger IMDb page than most people give him credit for. They think he's always just done the Joker. He's voiced Wolverine in a video game before.
Yes, he did.
A lot of people forget about that.
He was really good too. I thought he was good.
Yeah, Hobgoblin, which is basically he just did the Joker again, but just for Marvel. He was who's the Flash villain that he did in Justice League Unlimited? Trickster, yes.
Yep.
Because he did it in the actual Flash TV show too.
Do you remember that scene where he tells the kid?
Yeah.
Tells the kid that he's his father. That was amazing.
Yeah.
He did the "I am your father."
It is great. My favorite thing was in that Justice League Unlimited episode. You got me again, Flash. All right, I'll see you next week, buddy.
Yes.
Ozai basically practically is Darth Vader once you think about it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
To a degree, yeah. It's.
I mean, he does. He causes his son physical harm in it.
His son does have a burned face.
And he does and he does like, doesn't he like shoot electricity at one point? He becomes the Emperor in that.
I don't remember.
When Zuko confronts him and says he's leaving to join Aang, like he shoots electricity at him, he becomes Palpatine.
Lord. It's been a hot minute since I've watched Avatar, and I know I haven't watched the last season of it. At some point in my life, I do need to do that. But yeah, I don't know if you got anything else you want to cover on.
Go watch Sandman. It's great.
Yes, just go watch it if you haven't.
I shall.
One of the best.
And I will too as soon as my buddy is finally open to watch. He has as much overtime going on as I do, so. But yeah, all right. So I didn't really have like a big topic to bring up because I've just been doing whatever. But then it hit me when I was watching Asterisk War that a voice actor came up that pretty much every anime that I've watched that this person's come up in, she's borderline become my favorite character. And another one I'm going to bring up is become my favorite character. So I always thought, I was like, we talk a lot about, like, me and Kilana brought up Jen Hale and a couple other people, our favorite voice actors, but like they're in a lot of stuff and their names get brought up a lot. So I thought just like some well-known and some well-known, some not well-known, just favorite voice actors. Like the one that brought this whole thing on, her name is Sarah Ann Williams. And the very first voice acting role I ever heard her in was Nan Jakuzure in Kill la Kill, where she basically plays one of the four main anime villains who is the musical instructor at Hinoji Academy. But like you have to all have a club. Like there's an origami club, but it's all centered around fighting. It's just like there's a tennis club also, which is one of the first people that she fights that did just like shoot automatic tennis ball guns. The show's ridiculous. But she voices Sayaka Miki, who is one of the main five magical girls in Madoka Magica. She does a monologue in like the 6th or 7th episode, for those that don't know anything about Madoka, it is a show that started the cool magical girl is one thing. We're going to deconstruct the living shit out of it and make you realize just how screwed up deals like this can go. And she has this monologue right before something absolutely horrendous happens to her because her life just went down the complete shitter. And she tried to do a really good thing and it ended up going south for her bad. And she's just hearing these two guys on a train just trash talking something. And it involves in the situation of how she became what she is. And she just bordering on breaking down in tears, just giving this monologue about how they don't understand how certain people feel and that how they're mistreating someone, and it's exactly how she got mistreated. And it's one of the best voice acting displays I've seen in my life. And then recently in Asterix War, she played a character called Saya, who just everything is deadpanned. They have like bordering on no personality. It's just like, yeah, that's great. And it's just she absolutely nails it. Everything she says is hilarious. But one that I was telling Mike about, and it's why I want to do Kill a Kill again, because another one that popped up in there is Christine Marie Cabanos, who voices Mako Mancancho, who has become my favorite female anime character of all time. She's just the definition of the what I want to say, at-home person interacting with everything. She's just hilarious. And then she also voices Madoka Kaname, who's the main person in Madoka Magica, who's just, again, deconstructing how screwed up some of those deals can be that you just think it's really cutesy when it gets done in an anime and you realize it can have some really dark implications. Go watch Madoka Magica. It's 12 episodes long, and it is not the show that it looks like when you see just key art and stuff of it. It's very, very good. But Patrick Seitz is another one. He voices Dio Brando in JoJo. Ira Gamagori, the disciplinary instructor at Hinoji Academy. A lot of these people show up in Kill a Kill if you're not noticing. And he's also the soldier that Nero calls crew cut in DMC5. So there's that. And then, like, there's a couple of them that show up for me that there's the most polarizing voice actor, in my opinion. He's either one of the best voices in the show or the worst, is Todd Haberkorn. That guy,
I have some thoughts on him.
That guy, he is Death the Kid in Soul Eater. He is the main stitcher at the Academy in Kill a Kill, and he shows up in a bunch of stuff. And I like him for the most part. But one of my favorite animes that I watched recently, and I'm going to be buying the manga for it because it kind of falls off a cliff at the end. It does a version of Last of Us 2's ending, but doesn't land, is Claymore. It's basically if Berserk was all female characters. It's very good. The story is dark as shit, and it's insanely violent. It's awesome. But he plays the most nasally voiced, annoying character I have heard in years. And it's just, it's bordering on Black Star levels of wanting to stab myself in the ear with a screwdriver every time they talked. It was just not good. But as far as just like, if I'm going to talk favorites and just mention it, my two top number ones, female is obviously, I've mentioned it 1,000 times, Ashley Birch. Just no one even comes close. And Yuri Lowenthal, because he's my boy. I can't not mention Yuri Lowenthal. Like, no one's ever going to top his performance as Simone for me. But it's like, well, Kiona, go ahead if you want to shout some out.
Well, apart from the well-known ones like Jen Hale and Tara Strong and Steve Bloom and Bo Billingsley, Frank Welker, Megatron, the original.
Megatron, yes.
And Soundwave.
Yes.
You know, like for a guy that was only around for a very short period of time and then he passed away, tragically and unfortunately, Chris Latta, who was the voice of Starscream back in the G1 Transformers, like Generation 1.
Yep.
And also the voice of Cobra Commander in G.I. Joe.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
That guy was amazing. He had such like the perfect like evil stooge voice. Like it was really, really good. I got a shout out to like those guys too, like Peter Cullen.
Yes.
I know a lot of people know him from just doing Optimus Prime. Did you know he was the voice? He was the guy that did all the little grunts and stuff as the Predator in the first Predator movie with Arnold.
Shut up! No, I didn't know that.
That was him who did like the evil laugh at the end and everything too. I think.
That's
Damn.
amazing.
And of course, and he used to do like the Toonami promos for like Gundam Wing and stuff. Like that guy, just such an epic voice, and he could still do it to this day. Like it's amazing.
I would have met him if it wasn't for COVID.
Oh man,
So pissed.
yeah. Like Peter Cullen was just the guy. Like he made such an impression on me with his voice that I was one of those kids when I saw the Transformers the movie, like the '86 animated film, the OG. You know, the toy commercial, as we all know.
Yes.
When I didn't see that in theaters. So I saw it on home video, and we rented it so much. Like I'm talking VHS. That's how old I am, people. Like we rented it so much from the store, they actually sold it to us.
Holy crap! That's awesome.
I just wanted to see it all the time. So anyway, and you know, apparently I just never thought to actually purchase the damn thing. But anyway, that movie, when he dies, when Optimus Prime dies, like he turns black and everything, and just like the head to the side and everything, I lost it as a kid. I cried so hard. Like that was just that
Lots
was a
of kids
formative
did.
experience for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Lots of.
Oh,
I heard
yeah.
like there was even a story about a kid who locked himself in the family bathroom and wouldn't come out.
He did. He wouldn't come out. They didn't even understand like the strength of that character. Like they just thought he was just another Transformer that nobody really cared about. That everybody.
It was mainly just because like, actually, I think the reason why they kill him off in so many of the other Transformers characters is because Hasbro was like launching a new line of Transformers toys.
Exactly. They didn't understand that it was a cultural touchstone for those of us that had grown up with it. And like
Willie Bob, he said he was basically like that generation's answer to the Lone Ranger.
Yeah. Yeah. So you know, also I want to mention like the entire cast of Final Fantasy VII Remake and Remake Intermission. Like, you know, I was so hesitant because they recast everybody in the game. Totally the right decision. Everybody's so great. I got to give a shout out to like Brianna White because I still want to have her on the RPC podcast one of these days, on the Pop Culture podcast. You know, and Britt Baron, and then you have like Susie Young, who voiced Yuffie in Intergrade and Intermission. She did an amazing job. So many people in this game were just so good. Erica Lindbeck as Jessie. Gideon Emery as Biggs. Gideon Emery is an actor. Like he's been in like Destiny 2, and he was also on the MTV, the reimagined series Teen Wolf. As like one of the villains one of those years, and he gave like one of the funniest performances that I've ever seen. Like one of the most intensely funny performances. Like it's not intended to be funny, but it was just so intense. It's great. Who else? John Eric Bentley as Barrett in that game brought me to tears when he's crying out for his daughter Marlene. Like when he has that moment of he's just punching like the concrete because like the plate falls and everybody's like it's in ruins and stuff, and he's worried that his daughter is dead, and he just starts punching the walls and everything, and he's just so like upset and just wants to get to her, and he brought me to tears, man. That guy, I never would have, if you had told me that that Barrett Wallace of all the characters in Final Fantasy VII was going to bring me to tears, I would have just laughed in your face at first. But nope, that's exactly what he did.
Got a small one for Monica here. Mentioned some of her favorites. Chris Sabat, everyone knows Vegeta. Jonah Scott, I know that name, but the roles aren't coming up off the top of my head. Eric Bale, Laura Berry, obviously. Aaron Zek, who voices Blake in Ruby, for those that don't know. Met her. One of the most genuinely, most beautiful, nicest people I've ever met in my entire life. Got a weird interaction with her where I met her the first day, got the autograph and stuff. And then the next day we were walking in full cosplay, when I cosplayed as Nero. And her and Kara Ellerby Everly were behind us walking down the hallway looking for stuff to do. And I'm just like, my buddy Chris is like, Chris, I think that's them walking down the hallway, going to their tables, and we're just trying to look around. Then we stopped and out the door, but oh, thank you very much. I'm like, I just felt so nervous like they're in the same hallway as us. So it's just like, but yeah, there was two that I forgot. That'll let you go back to.
Go ahead.
I have to say rest in peace to one of my favorite villainous voice actors ever, Tony J.
Oh yes.
Tony J
Oh my
is just
God.
the greatest. My favorite role he's ever done was Wraith in the Mighty Ducks cartoon. It was so good. So good. And also one of the GOATs with, according to this, over 860 television, TV, and video game roles, Frank Welker. The king of the monster
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah. Apparently, the thing is, for Lion King, they had to use tiger sound effects instead of lion sound effects because lions, when they roar, it's not as badass as tigers, apparently. And also, there's actually a video clip online where it's like Frank Welker, he's making the lion growls, and he's like doing it, he's holding a trash can, he's like roaring into it, like he's snarling like a real lion, and it just sounds so cool.
Oh yeah.
It's amazing he can actually pull those off.
I can't imagine what that dude's vocal cords
And the voice of Megatron too, on top of everything else.
Yes.
Megatron and Galvatron.
He's even
the
done
anime
like
film.
he's even done voices for like live action films like animal sounds like the monkey in
Yes.
Raiders of the Lost Ark and also the aliens in Independence Day and the deer and Tommy Boy.
I didn't know that.
And
He's a
Anaconda.
legend, man.
Anaconda.
That makes a ton
Oh
of
my
sense,
God.
though. That's
Um,
the deer and Tommy Boy. That's the voice credit I wanted if I ever was on my deathbed. I was the deer in Tommy Boy.
I think he's like
really the best.
I think he
Can you
once broke
imagine
a
the
record.
voicemails he got like throughout his life? Frank, we got one for you. And hold on.
He's the third highest grossing actor of all time in terms of collectively his movies have made him like the third, like his collective filmography, third most profitable of all time, behind only Stan Lee and Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, that tracks.
Stan Lee from all those cameos.
Like,
Yep.
you gotta imagine
like-
he's done everything.
It's Stan Lee, Samuel L. Jackson, Frank Welker, John Ratzenberger, Robert Downey Jr., Bob Bergen, Scarlett Johansson, Andy Serkis, Benedict Cumberbatch, and Alan Tudyk.
Jesus. Good Lord.
And what about like Brock? What about people like the voice cast from Resident Evil, like Maggie Robertson and Neil Newbon, and like
everyone.
Katie O'Hagan and Jeff Shine.
They just it almost becomes cheating when you get to say something like Resident Evil at this point because almost everyone's been in a Resident Evil game by now.
I know
But
it's true.
It's off the charts. And like I get a lot of crap because I watch a lot of stuff dubbed versus subbed. But I hate to break it to you because they say a lot of voice actors are shared. I'm like, I hate to break it to you. I watched a lot of interviews with Japanese voice actors talking about this subject, and it's almost a billion times worse in Japan.
Yeah,
It's the same thing. They all have 800 credits to their lives because guess what? Not everybody can pull voices off.
Mhm.
And you get then people like Troy and Nolan North who have openly
Nolan
talked
North,
about how they're insanely talented and can vary their voices a lot, but every time they get into something, you're like, no, do the one. But do something else. Like in The Last of Us, I was talking about it. Nolan North voices David. I did not know that was him until I had to look it up because that is not the Nolan North voice he always gets to do.
that's true.
And it's just...
And that was downright like frightening.
Yeah, or like Troy as Pagan Min. That's not what he normally gets to do.
That's not what he normally does at all.
And look up the story about how he debuted that voice for Pagan Min and like scared an actual assistant at Ubisoft half to death because he like went postal on her in the middle of his audition.
Oh my God.
And like threatened to rip her face off.
Oh my God.
What
the hell?
Like there's a threat that Pagan does in the video game And then like someone came in and he's like, no, I'm gonna show, because like they wanted him to do his regular Troy Baker voice. And he's like, no, I'm gonna show him. Like someone came in and interrupted the interview, and he just went off with the line on the person that they walked off and were like, yeah, do that.
Man.
Oh man. Okay, I got a few more here. I gotta give a shout out to Nicole Tompkins, the voice of Jill Valentine,
Obviously.
because she recorded that cameo for me
Yes.
those couple years ago, and she's just an awesome person. So, a couple more, Brock, that I wanted to mention. Jeremy Lee.
Jeremy's great.
He's great.
Fantastic.
Of course, Ashley Johnson. Of course, Laura Bailey. Ray Delisle, Grey Griffin.
Oh
Great.
yeah. She's gonna be at Grand Rapids Comic Con over here.
Nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
And of course, I want to mention like Hal Dodd, who was the original voice of Wolverine.
Oh,
Also in
the
the
96
X-Men.
cartoon?
Yeah.
Who will also be at Grand Rapids Comic Con.
There
You
you
want to
go.
know what? You need to get a videotape recording of him saying, "This one's for you, Kyoto."
Oh, I already got one for you for Barf.
You
Barf
did.
and Ruby.
I appreciated the crap out of that. When we start covering Ruby again, I'm going to use it as the intro. But yeah,
Oh,
it's ridiculous.
God, is there anybody else that I can think of off the top of my head?
No, there's a ton, and that's the part where you don't realize it. Where there's some where I hear them in one, and I'm like, oh, that doesn't seem like a new one. They have 600 IMDb credits. Huh?
I have a couple that Brock will probably he'll hit himself for not having thought of.
Oh no. Okay, go ahead.
I'm gonna start with an obvious one. Indian Welch.
Indian Welch, yeah.
Indian
of course,
Welch, yeah.
Yeah. The head cook of Team Gurren.
Yeah. I'm gonna try to keep this to mostly newer talent because Keanu brought up like a lot of like the heavy hitters like Peter Cullen, Frank Welker, another
Kevin
one.
Conroy.
Kevin Conroy.
Yes, of course, Kevin, my hero.
Speaking of animal voices, another like prolific voice actor in that regard, D. Bradley Baker.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Appa.
Yeah.
And Momo.
Yep.
And he's also done like some legacy characters, like he did Daffy Duck in Space Jam and a couple other projects. But some of the newer guys that I'm big fans of, Zeno Robinson has been pretty much crushing it over the last couple years. He's probably best known for like he's known for a lot of characters. Remy Remington on Big City Greens. His anime credits are like all over the place. He's Super Alloy Blackluster in One Punch Man. He's Hawks in My Hero Academia.
Nice.
And he's in the Resident Evil show as just a bunch of additional voices. He's Vanitas on the case study of Vanitas. But most people will know him for his roles on Young Justice. He's Cyborg, Steel, and a couple other characters. He's done voices on Miraculous, Tales of Ladybug. But of course, everyone will know him as a character you'll meet eventually on the Owl House called the Golden Guard.
Okay.
Yeah, he's been in a lot.
Nice.
And then who are some other prolific?
There's two that I forgot that like they have a ton of credits to their name, but they're only the two that I know them from, and they're two of my favorite characters anime period just from what they do. And one of them is Christopher Corey Smith, who voices Keaton and Gurren.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And I've been a fan of her because of, let's just say, she's very attractive in anime, and I haven't watched it until the binge recently, and I'm going to butcher her name, but it's Marique Hendricks. I want to say what her name is, but she's the girl that voices Rebecca Lee or Revy from Black Lagoon. She's just off the charts good. She's so good in that role, and she normally voices like kind kid children TV stuff. So when she went to Black Lagoon, it was just off to the races with what she got to do.
Nice.
Yeah.
Another one I have to mention, Erica Harlicker from obviously Violet Evergarden, and she plays Nina Williams in Tekken Bloodline.
Oh, awesome!
She's Anne.
Oh, wow.
She's Anne in Persona 5, the animation.
Nice.
She's in she's in a bunch of things. She's Claudia in the Asterix War.
Oh, okay. Yep, got it. Cool, nice. I know her. Awesome.
And she is Tsukio in Kill la Kill.
Oh, okay, nice. Oh, wow, I didn't make that connection, but yeah, that totally makes sense. Okay, now I hear the dialects. Okay, nice.
I got a couple more. Jason Douglas, who, oh my God, is in like everything. Most people know him as Beerus from Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods and Dragon Ball Super. He's Dune in Catcher in Sins. Let's see what else. He is Gildarts Clive in Fairy Tail. Major Miles in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Nice.
He's Joe Bataki, Joe Butataki in Soul Eater. What else? He's Fourth Kind in My Hero Academia.
He is. Okay, yeah. He's the coffee guy, I think.
Let's see what else. He's the mercenary in Grimoire of Zero.
That's on the list.
And he's Jacques Schnee in Ruby.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Oh,
And
another one that I totally forgot that's been in a ton of stuff from when we were younger is Jeff Bennett.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like
Jeff
Johnny
Bennett is
Bravo
awesome.
for crying out loud.
Whoa.
Hey, baby, I already have a
Oh,
question.
mama.
You look like someone I can handle too. So much. He did everyone from Johnny Bravo to Red Tornado. And he was in the best Spider-Man cartoon like ever, Spectacular Spider-Man, he was Electro. No, not Electro, Shocker.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
Man, Jeff Bennett's great. I also believe that Jeff Bennett was not Brooklyn.
Bronx?
Who did he voice in Gargoyles? Not Bronx. The red one with the more of the spike coming out of the back of his head. Was that Brooklyn?
Lexington?
No, Lexington was a small one with the wings that like connected to his arms. Broadway was the bigger guy.
Oh, he is Brooklyn.
He is Brooklyn. Okay, that's what it was. Jeff Bennett's great. I think he was the Joker in the Batman, the Brave and the Bold too.
Yeah.
I think he was, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's so good. I think he was the guy that Kiona, Mike, you might remember this too. He is the news reporter in Batman that gets covered in the same stuff that the Joker got that turns into a maniac.
Oh, the Creeper.
The Creeper. He voiced the Creeper in Batman the Animated Series.
And speaking of characters like the Creeper, in the animated version of The Mask, Rob Paulsen is Stanley Ipkiss.
What? Oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And speaking of Rob Paulsen, he's done literally
that dude's gotta
everything.
have an 18 million mile long IMDb.
Yeah. So he's been in 2 different versions of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. In the original, in the '87 version, he's Raph. He's Donatello in the 2012 version, and he's actually the voice director of
Shit.
Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
God damn it. Okay.
You okay? Jacob, you okay?
Uh-oh, what happened?
You all right, Jacob?
Is
Well,
he frozen?
Sounds like he was
I
having
don't
a
know.
problem. We'll let him
Yeah.
come back in later once he's
All
got
right.
it figured out.
Oh, tough.
Anyway, yeah. So Rob Paulson's been in like a million things. He's two different turtles. He's He's like Steelbeak in Darkwing Duck.
Nice.
Obviously, he's Yakko and Pinky on Animaniacs.
Nice.
He voiced Jacques and the Grand Duke in Birth by Sleep.
Nice.
And
Oh, wow.
let's see what else, because he's been in like a million things.
Yeah, it's true.
He's Haji in Johnny's Golden Quest.
What?
And probably like one of the spin-off shows from the 90s that nobody remembers.
Wow. Yeah, I don't remember. I remember New Adventures of Johnny Quest, but I don't remember the other spin-offs.
He plays a character on the Addams Family from the 90s called Norman Meyer.
Norman Meyer. Okay.
He was in an episode of Batman the Animated Series. He plays a bunch of different characters on Back at the Barnyard. And I don't know if you guys remember the Fairly Odd Parents.
Oh yeah.
He was the alien. He was like the alien Mark.
Nice. I would be very dismissed if I did not mention my video game wife, Liz Schroka.
Ooh.
Oh, Tally.
I would go to the ends of the earth for that girl.
You'd pull a She-Hulk to Megan Thee Stallion and just be like, "I'd kill for you, Liz."
Oh, I would kill for that girl. Oh, Allie is just the greatest. But yeah,
Speaking of which, I should mention two more. Janet Varney,
Ooh.
the voice of Cora, who I got to meet actually. She was very, very sweet.
Nice.
And Allie Hillis.
Nice.
Yara. Yeah.
Yes. Allie seems like a great person.
Oh yeah, she's so fun.
Yes. I'm trying to think of more, like one of the most genuinely off the wall. Like I'm not the hugest Dragon Ball fan, but now, oh boy, his name is escaping me. It's such a big. Yeah, there it is. I had no idea what the dude looked like either, but there was a fan of, like at the last Comic-Con I went to, there was a bunch of DBZ actors there, like 2 big ones and a bunch of smaller ones. And, which I didn't mention Kyle Bear, obviously he's Kamina, but he's also Gohan. Mm-hmm. And, that I was sitting there looking for one, and one was Christopher Sabat, obviously got to meet him. Unbelievably funny, super kind dude.
Awesome.
But the one that I could almost never know when he was there or when he wasn't, because his thing didn't have a picture of him. It just said Goku and a couple of the other roles that he's done, was Sean Schimmel.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
And all of a sudden, I'm just at his table, and I'm like, I want to get his autograph. And I'm like, where is he? And then all of a sudden I look, and there's 2 or 3 con staff people like 5 feet in front of his table because Sean refused to sit behind his table. He wanted to be out in the open talking with people, so he wasn't restricted and he could be closer to fans. They could not get him to stay behind his table.
That's awesome.
Or
it reminds me of John Barrowman at one of the conventions that I went to.
Nice.
Where he was in front of his table too. Like, they couldn't get him to be away from that.
Yeah, and like I'll mention my first person I ever met at a con. I drove 7 hours to go to my first con. It was in St. Louis. 7 hours one way, and it was at a St. Louis Comic Con, and like I wanted to go, and I never got to go to these, but it's like Randy Orton was going to be there. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool, but I'm like, there's something that's making me want to go. And
Was
then
it gonna just RKO people out of nowhere?
I got a picture with him. He's a lot taller than people expect. But so is Gene Simmons from Kiss. Also, that dude is a giant. But I got there, and all of a sudden it was like Kevin Conroy's going. I'm like, so it's only 7 hours. So I'm like, I need to meet Kevin Conroy. And we got in, and I had no idea how these cons worked. We got in, and then immediately, like 20 feet off the door, was Kevin's table, and then guy who voiced Robin.
Lauren Lester.
Lauren Lester. His table was right next to it. And all of a sudden, my buddy Chris and Alicia are just like, I'm just going to wait here. His autograph thing starts in like 20 minutes. You're like, yeah, that's fine. I had no idea how it was going to work. And this guy, oh man, no, his name is escaping me. I'll think of it later. He's a super nice dude. And I've actually been on his podcast before. But he was just trying to talk me through it. And he gave me a picture because I didn't know like they had like prints with them. I thought you had to bring something to sign. So I was super nervous and beginning to meet Kevin. And then I'm expecting security and all this other stuff to go by. And then Kevin, in his jacket, with his luggage on just like a little pull behind carry thing, walk in with regular people, not acting like he's a celebrity or nothing, just pulls up, sets his bag down, takes his jacket off, sets it on the back of the chair, and just sits. I'm like, there was no pomp and circumstance. He just acted like he was a regular dude. And it was like so well aware. And he sat down, and within 3 people, I got up to the table, and he's just like, hey, man, how's it going? He shook my hand. And like, for those of you that don't know, I am a child of an incredibly messy divorce when I was very, very young. And one of the few things that brought me joy every day was watching that Batman animated series. That's how I became such a big fan of Batman, was just like, that was a comfort thing for me when I was younger. And then I shook his hand, and I just like talking. Is just like, how you doing? It's like, I drove 7 hours to come here. You were a hero. My eyes started bawling.
Oh,
and
man.
Without prompt, he walked around his table and hugged me as hard as he could.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, I'm just like, hey, man, as long as I was able to help you through a dark night, I'm glad I could be there for you, and I would do it again. I'm like, you were better than I expected. Like, I was trying to calm myself down. He's talking me through it. He signed the thing, and he's like, I assume you want Robins as well. I'm like, he's right behind me. He just handed it right to Laura, and he's like, you take care of yourself, dude, and always remember that we're here for you. And he like just kept going on. I'm like, it was the kindest thing of my first con experience ever. Kevin just set the bar a million miles high for every interaction I could ever have. And Laura was just as nice. Oh, it was fantastic.
So great. So great.
Such a nice dude. Oh my goodness. But
I love that Lauren Lester too. Speaking of him, he had an on-screen role in that movie Red Eye that Wes Craven directed.
Oh,
with Cillian Murphy. And why am I blanking on her name right now? I don't know. I was tired. I'm tired and it's late. Rachel McAdams. God. Anyway, so Lauren Lester was in that. He was like the irate passenger on the airline, and it was so funny.
Nice.
It's great. Every time he speaks, I just hear Robin.
Ever. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I know, right? It's so funny, but it's amazing. Steve Bloom was like that for me too, because he was like super cool and just really nice.
Steve Bloom,
awesome guy.
Might be the most unintentionally ridiculous voice actor experience I've had in my entire life. You go up, and it was unintentionally the funniest thing ever, because you go to all these people's tables, and you're like, to make it easy, they'll bring a box like this big. And they'll be like, here is the 6 biggest characters you'd know me from. And you're obviously going to know one of these 6, so I don't have to worry. Steve Bloom don't fuck around. Pardon my language. This motherfucker had a flip open, like 80-page binder of every character he's ever voiced. And behind him was like 6 or 7 of those giant fold open, like plastic totes. That was
wow.
And he had a person behind him. It's like, so do you know who you want? Steve the voice? He's like, well, yeah, to his ever. He's like, I promise you, whoever you want, it's in here. And I'm just going and going. And this binder just never ended. And he's just seeing people. He had 2 assistants with him from the con that was just like, hold on, buddy. We know what you want. We just got to get to the bottom of the and immediately it was just like, and he's like, hey, bud, how's it going? I did this and that. I initially got Rex because he didn't have any Leron prints with him. And he's just like, I apologize. It's the one that I'm low on, but he's just like, I do stuff for like cons and stuff like that online. If you want one, I promise you it'll be available on that so you can get one. He's like, cool. But then also he's like, you want a picture? He's like, yeah, but I'm not great at selfies. He's like, cool, you don't need to. And he just takes my phone from me and like posts and snaps it for me. Like, also, those of you who want to know, once I get my vehicle paid off, I'm going to think seriously into it. He does voice acting like lessons on the side.
Yeah.
Has his own classes. And I can tell you right now, from the little bit that I've met of Steve, I don't know if you could have a kinder person to do that for you. That dude is committed to getting people into the business and wants you to do well. Just the kindest guy ever. And I will tell you, there's a video of him. If I can find it, I'll put it in the show notes of this. There's a video of him as Leron doing Spike Spiegel quotes.
Oh my God.
And it's one of the best things ever.
Oh my God, I can totally hear it right now. I can hear See You Space Cowboy in that voice.
That's exactly what the first line. See you later, Space Cowboy. It's just the best. Steve is such a good dude.
He's
oh, man.
Oh, man.
Oh, Steve's fantastic. All right, Jacob.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah, sorry, guys. My battery died because I didn't think to charge it.
It's all good.
Oh,
there's some voice actors in, bud?
Okay. One of my favorite voice actors has to be Patrick Warburton. Has to be.
That's a good one.
Yes.
Because I met him at Comic-Con recently, and I like him because like one of the tenets that usually is for like a good voice actor is range, like vocal range. He doesn't have a lot of that, but he doesn't play the same character over and over. You know, like he's like at one minute he's like Kronk for the Emperor's New Groove, then he's Joe Swanson, then he's the principal in Kim Possible,
and he's Buzz Lightyear.
Yes.
Yeah, he's Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah.
So good.
Didn't he? Did he play the Tick?
Yes,
in
the
live action one.
The live action one, right? Yeah.
Yes.
The first one, the first live action.
Right.
Patrick Warburton. Oh man, he's so good. You know who does a very good impersonation of Patrick Warburton? Nolan North. He can ace him to a T. Speaking of those two, back when Troy and Nolan were really close, I think they still are. Just on the YouTube channel together. They thought of an idea if they ever got to go on SNL that they wanted to do a skit of Nolan being of Troy Baker being Jeff Goldblum, and then Nolan North being Christopher Walken playing $100,000 Pyramid.
Oh my God!
And it would just be Troy going, and then Nolan would just be artichokes, and then it was like they wouldn't understand how Chris was understanding what he said. It was the funniest shit I ever seen.
I could totally see that working.
Oh, it's fantastic. All right. Sorry to interrupt you, but go ahead, Jacob. Do you have any other ones?
And another one, female one, is Greg Griffin.
Ooh. And
because her performance as Azula alone makes her one of my favorites.
Yeah, she banished me when I got her autograph. She banished me. She was like, I banish you. I was like, that's the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Keep going. There's one I forgot about.
And also, one of my favorites is Phil Lamar.
I met Phil Lamar at New York Comic Con, I think back in 2016. He's just one of the nicest people. Took a couple
speaking of which, yeah, I had to bring it up because he's Samurai Jack. I'd be remiss not to mention Mako.
Yes.
Yeah. That Leaves from the Vine, when he sings that song, like it's to the point where Greg Baldwin, who replaced him, like whenever he's at conventions, he refuses to sing that song because to him that's Mako's song.
Nice. There's one I forgot to mention, and I have to because like her voice jump started me into puberty when I was younger. Even though that doesn't correspond when the show came out. You'll know this person for being on Star Trek. Most people will, but to me, it's Marina Sirtis as Demona in Gargoyles, and also Liara's mom. Can't remember her name.
Oh, wait.
Liara's mom in Mass Effect. What the crap's her name? And
Hold on. Venezia.
Venezia.
Nature of Venezia.
Yeah, and also I have to think of who her voice actress was. Sally Richardson, who I don't know her from a bunch of other stuff, but she voiced Elisa Maza in Gargoyles. She did a very, very good job. Oh.
Speaking of female voice actors, and another legend, Tress MacNeille. She has done like almost my entire childhood.
I think pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, she's Chip and Gadget on Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. She is Dot from Animaniacs.
Yes.
Babs Bunny.
Damn it. Okay.
Charlotte Pickles in Rugrats. Let's see who else. Because she's another one of those that are in like everything. In the original Voltron, she's Queen Merla.
Nice.
Wow. Yeah.
I think she voices. I have to look something up. Hold on. I think she voices another one of my favorites from a '90s cartoon. But keep going.
I'll probably get to it eventually. Let's see. On The Adventures of Gummy Bear, she's Lady Bane in Marzipan. She's also a couple voices on the Pirates of Darkwater.
She was Mrs. Peenman in The Mask. I forgot about that.
Oh, yep.
Nice.
Yes, Mrs. Peenman.
Yes, Mrs. Peenman.
Oh, great.
In Mighty Ducks, she's Trina.
Nice.
Let's see. In Gargoyles, the
Goliath Chronicles, the 3rd season.
Yeah, she's like a bunch of different characters. She's Margot Yale, Judge Bates, Dr. Carrie Benjamin.
I thought she was Gargoyle. I thought she was Goliath's daughter, but that's somebody else.
And like nearly every supporting female character in Simpsons.
Yeah.
And in Futurama, she's Mom and a bunch of different voices.
Oh my god. I'm so glad Futurama's coming back, by the way.
Small tangent. I forgot just how much of a role Jim Carrey was on in the mid-90s. In the same year, he had Dumb and Dumber, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber, The Mask, and oh no, I can't remember what the other one was. Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
Ace Ventura.
And all 3 of them also had cartoons come out that year too.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What are the other voice
role in each one of them I'm seeing here?
One of the other voice actors that I met at Comic-Con, John DiMaggio.
Yeah,
I have too. That dude's great. My second favorite Joker.
Yeah, he's great as Joker. He's he's in everything. He's the Scotsman in Samurai Jack. He's Dr. Draken and Motor Ed on Kim Possible. He's General Grievous in the Genndy Tartakovsky Clone Wars miniseries.
Oh my god! Wow, how many people remember that?
Not much, but I just watched Primal and.
Oh, Primal, yeah.
Primal's great.
I need to get to Primal still.
I have one little off topic thing, kind of off topic, but it is related to voice acting in a way. So you know that game Stray that just came out where you play as a cat?
Yeah.
Somebody modded in, instead of the cat meowing, he yells Jason like in Heavy Rain.
Yes! Oh, I need to play that! That's the best!
Every time the cat meows, he goes, Jason!
That might be the best mod in history. That and Macho Man as the dragons in Skyrim. Those are the 2 top mods of all time.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Somebody really needs to mod in Bonesaw as a playable character in the Spider-Man game.
I got
Oh
you
my
for
God.
3 minutes of playtime. Won't you come down here and fight me like a man? Won't you come up here and fight me like a spider?
Oh,
Hold on.
that's the
did she
greatest thing
also-
ever.
Oh my gosh, man. They're just, yeah. This is like, I love talking about voice actors because you don't realize the stuff that they've done in other things until you really go down into it. And just some of them you never think about. That's why I love talking about voice actors with people, but I never get to.
Another one, again, from Dragon Ball, Ian Sinclair. Most people will know him, obviously, as Whis from Dragon Ball Super and the movie Battle of the Gods. But he's Nile Doc in Attack on Titan. He's Brook on One Piece. He's he's the voice of Chuck in Penny and Stocking.
I also believe that he is the English voice actor for the main in Black Butler. If I'm not mistaken. Because I think
Baldroy?
I think so.
Yep,
Because
that's him.
I got to be in the same room as him. I didn't like technically meet him, but he was in the same like autograph lineup thing when I got to meet. Oh, and one of my other favorites, even though I think he's in hot water for some stuff recently, is DC Douglas.
Yeah.
I got to read. I don't think it matters at this point that I admit this. I got to read Resident Evil Smut with him live on a stage.
What?
And it is the best ever experience I will ever have at a con.
Oh
I got
God,
to
can
read
imagine.
Resident Evil Smut with him where he was Wesker and I was Chris Redfield. And
Oh
it was
my
the
God.
most, I was pissing myself laughing on that stage. I would have video of it because he asked us all to not videotape it because he could get
Yeah.
in serious legal trouble for it, but I don't think he's
Yeah.
involved with Capcom anymore, so he's just ridiculous. Oh yeah. What's his name? He's involved with The Simpsons.
Dan Castellaneta?
Nope. He was, oh man, he was the main villain in the second Night at the Museum movie.
Hank Azaria?
Hank Azaria, that's what it is, yes.
I love Hank. He's
Right.
I don't understand what you're going for. You're evil, you're asthmatic, there's so much going on. You need to pick something. And also one that's not a normal voice actor, but I thought did a really good job. He does voice roles every now and then. Isn't it Jesse McCartney that voiced Robin in Young Justice?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like that came out of nowhere, and I'm like, you actually did really good. Like shockingly well. And yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised that he was very good in that role too.
You know what? I'm looking at his Wikipedia now. He's done a lot more voices than you'd think. Like, yeah, sure, most of them are Theodore in the Alvin and the Chipmunks movies, but he's done a couple other things. I think he's Terrence in some of the Disney fairy movies. Obviously, yes, he's Robin and Nightwing. What other voices has he done?
Also, I have to give credit to oh no, I can't think of his name. He voices Kratos now. He was on Christopher Judge.
Christopher Judge, read
Yes.
it, boy.
Read it, boy. He's just so happy he said the thing.
So amazing. I know. We were all so happy in that moment.
It was fantastic. And like Ruben Langdon's another one that's up there. Obviously, I have to mention Johnny Young Bosch. He's another one person. He's like, he has a voice, but he never plays the same type of characters. He always varies it.
I want to give another shout out to Ashley Birch because she's the voice of probably one of my favorite newer Disney shows, the Ghost and Molly McGee. She plays Molly,
Yes.
and she is amazing.
Ashley's fantastic. Like what you playing at? Like Ashley is one of the most sweet and innocent things. She's younger than me, from what I understand. She's done a lot in a very little time, but like she's also not afraid to be vulgar. Like there's this one scene in Super Best Friends Play where they're just doing a video and a thing, and Ashley, who is a favorite of bullies, and he's just like, hey, so what do you? Because it's the one guy from their crew that didn't go to this con with him. He's like, hey, Ash from Ash Play. So what do you think? And he's like, what do you think of Bully? He's a straight dick. And then it just cuts away. Ashley's just fantastic. And she doesn't do a lot of voice acting, but the little that she's done, Jessica Negri actually does a pretty all right job as Cinder in Ruby. As much as I don't like the character, she does great as it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure she would do well in that because I haven't seen it. That's why, but I'm sure that she does a good job.
Yeah, I think it's the first like official voice acting role that she did. But yeah, I was confused for the longest time. I'm like, wait, she didn't do Lollipop Chainsaw? I was like, no, she was just everything involved in the advertisement. I'm like, oh,
yeah. It was Tara Strong, which is
yeah.
of course.
And
perfect
we
casting
haven't mentioned
as well.
Tara at all.
I did. I mentioned her.
Yeah,
did
that
you? Okay.
it was one of the first that Kiona mentioned.
That girl.
Also, I don't
And
know
Harley.
and Harley, and like that was just about to mention. I don't know if she's done anything since then, but like Arlene Sorkin, the original Harley,
The original Harley, yes.
very, very,
Epic.
very, very good. Oh man! And then she's voiced Batgirl in a lot of iterations, and on top of Ashley Williams. Oh, is it Kimberly Williams? I want to say her name is.
Kimberly Williams, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she's very good. The whole cast of Mass Effect is just off the charts good.
Yeah, the whole cast is fantastic, man.
Yeah, it's.
If you want to go real old school, how about the cast of like Robotech?
Oh my god, that's going back.
Yeah. Tony Oliver and Leah Sargent.
Yes. Tony
Yeah.
Oliver is another big one.
Richard Epcar.
Yes.
Another one that we haven't mentioned yet, Mae Whitman.
Yeah,
Yes.
Mae Whitman, yes.
She's
voiced
been,
Stephanie Brown very briefly.
Yeah, briefly she was the voice of Stephanie Brown. She's Katara, obviously in Avatar. Did you know that she was the voice of Little Susie on Johnny Bravo?
No.
Yeah, that's like one of her earliest roles.
That's
God.
fantastic. One that's blowing my mind away here. One of my favorite voice acting roles when I was younger was Wild Wing Flashblade, the lead of the five in oh yeah, they were the edgiest of edges names for that. But like Duke Larange, Nosedive. Also Brendan Fraser as Grin. Pain is an illusion. An illusion that really, really hurts. But Ian Ziering was his voice actor, and I'm just realizing now the same guy that voiced Wild Wing back in the day was the lead of all of the Sharknado films.
Wow.
He also voiced Vinny in Biker Mice from Mars. Ah! That's a
Biker
whole
Mice from Mars. My God,
that'd be a
Wow.
whole podcast topic and a half, looking back at the old run of all the anthropomorphic like animal teams from back then.
seriously.
Because there's some ridiculous ones, like Dino Saucers, where the main
Dino
villain's
Saucers.
name is Genghis Rex.
Oh my
I want
God,
to
man.
know if you two recognize Sissy Jones. She's kind of new to the voice acting scene, but she's done a lot of video game stuff. She's let's see, in The Wolf Among Us, she's Kelsey Brannigan. In Life is Strange, she's Joyce Price, and
Nice.
and a homeless woman. She's Dr. Duff and Patricia Montgomery in Fallout 4. In Farpoint, she's the voice of a computer. Let's see what else. She's Annie Nobi in Evil Dead the game.
Evil Dead. I need to play that. Stuff.
Oh,
In Shadow of War, she's Nazgul.
Makes sense. That makes sense.
And yeah, most of her fans know her as a character named Lilith on the Owl House.
Okay, nice. Old school demonology name.
yep. There you go.
Yes. All right. Yeah. Do we have any other ones we want to throw in quick before we're done? We actually covered a lot more than I was expecting we did.
Jacob, do you have a few that we have?
He is having the worst luck. All right. All right. Cool. I think we're just gonna start getting ready for the get ready for the goodbyes here, and hopefully we get. All right.
Oh, poor Jacob, man.
There we go. All right.
How that goes.
We covered a lot more in there. I never got a chance to talk with like voice actors and people, but I'm very glad to because I love seeing the long ranges of people. Because like I'm gonna be honest, I'm a decent fan of most of John Campia's opinions, but one thing that pisses me off more than anything is that it's
voice
like
acting thing
is not real acting. Shut the hell up.
Yeah, dude.
That bothers me so
that's
much.
so wrong.
It's harder than actual acting. Has anyone here tried actual voice acting? A friend of ours, Colton, had me do voice acting for a 20-second phone call in his Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. stuff. And I had to redo 2 lines about 40 times because I sounded like ass every time.
It's rough.
It's so hard. Because it needs to sound natural. And does everyone realize what they actually talk like when they're not in a conversation by themselves? You don't sound natural.
No.
It's hard to fake that.
There's one more actor that we haven't mentioned yet, and it's a big one. Cree Summer.
Oh, yes.
Summer.
That one. Why am I blanking on that name?
Wow.
She is Susie Carmichael on Rugrats.
Oh.
She's, one of her earlier roles was Penny in Inspector Gadget.
Yes.
Holy crap! My God,
she is.
I didn't even remember that.
Is it number 4 or number 5 in Codename Kids?
She was
I want to say it was number 4.
I think it's actually number 5.
Is it? Okay. All right.
She was Max in Batman Beyond.
Yes.
Terry's friend Max.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think she was also a voice in Atlantis: The Lost Empire. She's been in like everything.
Nice.
She did she had an amazing cameo in Justice League Unlimited as like the Britney Spears singer.
I remember that.
Nice.
That was fantastic, man. I laughed so hard at that.
Also, I can't remember his name. It's the guy who voiced Terry.
Will Friedle.
Will
Friedle, yeah.
Dude, he was fantastic.
Got to meet him too. He was cool. Awesome guy.
But yeah, all right. I'm glad we got to run through that. This was really fun. We got toward the 3-hour mark that I was aiming for. All right, everybody. It's getting late. I have to work one last day before I'm off for a week, which I'm very excited about.
All right.
And that'll be tomorrow. So, all right, we are going to get the heck on out of here. Jacob, where can everybody find you and reach you, buddy?
You can find me on Facebook, Jacob Krabel, KREHBLIEL. I'm also part of the Renegade Pop Culture Facebook group.
Awesome. Do you want to mention any more some of the autism stuff, bud? Like what you're working with?
Autistic Self-Advocacy Network. It's like the best charity that advocates for autism rights, their right to live freely, independently, and they involve autistic people in every discussion that they take part in. They're all for like legislation that makes it easier for autistic people to live their lives freely.
Awesome,
Nice.
man. Cool. If you would not mind, send me a link to like a main page for all that stuff so I could put it in the show notes of the podcast.
Thanks. I'd appreciate that, guy, buddy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Send it to me in a message when we're done. All right. Kiona,
Okay.
where can everybody find you, bud?
Oh, just find me on Twitter at KeonaTang. That's KeonaTang, and also on Renegade Pop Culture, of course, which is renegadepopculture.com.
Absolutely. Mike, where can everybody find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at CaptainK42. You can check out my quick thoughts on letterboxd.com/CoachK42. And you can follow Renegade Pop Culture on Facebook and Twitter at Ren Pop Culture. We're also on YouTube, on Podchaser, on the Banana Meter. Listen to all of our podcasts on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Pandora, apparently. Wherever you...
I love every time we find a new one. We're like, what?
And
Why is this here?
And last but not least, everything can be found at renegadepopculture.com. Need an escape? So do we.
Pandora, apparently. I forget Pandora exists sometimes.
Same.
But apparently everybody uses it to listen to RPC, so it's pretty funny.
Nice. Hey, it helps. All right, and you can find me everywhere at Organoid Zero, mostly on Twitch and YouTube. Currently on YouTube, we are going through a comic, a kill. Then we'll have another one, and then we're recording one, and then we will be doing finally getting to that because we had all that circled around before we were going to do Cowboy Bebop when the show was coming out, and then some other circumstances that blocked around it. But yeah, that'll be one that's in the future. And that's going. We're going through She-Hulk on the channel as well right now. And
fun.
It's not that I'm not taking a break, but I have a friend from Canada that's visiting. So unless they crash early and I'm up late, I won't be streaming this week. I'm going to try and get one or two in because I want to do more of The Last of Us because I've seen a couple of clips of like the gameplay and some of the crap that's in that freaking remake. Holy balls. Is it good looking? Like they showed, when Ellie shoots that rabbit, it looks like I was watching Discovery Channel.
Wow.
It's off the charts.
Jeez.
It's ridiculous. But
that is ridiculous. That sounds ridiculous.
Anyway, yeah. I'm really enjoying having a podcast that's monthly. At some point, my goal is to get down to bi-monthly, and I am not even going to try and shoot for weekly until this becomes a very regular thing that does going down the line. But yeah, until next time, we will see you guys all later. Bye.